these mics are off, you can hear nothing. And I was surprised. Like I thought there was just silence in the meeting, and Sherry ended up saying like, "Yeah, Jim, that's right." And I was like, "Jim was talking? This is a terrible way for me to do minutes."
John, is the treasurer online with us? Okay. Can somebody send, will you send Claire a message and it's 5:30? What is bouncing? Hey, detective, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what doesn't show up on my printed version?
You know, Melissa, those olives are still on your desk if you need a snack.
Do we have Claire yet?
She hasn't responded.
All right, let's give her one more minute. Not according to me. I am not going to say anything derogatory about I apologize for the delay. We're going to give the treasurer who's, okay, give her just a second to get logged in. Thank you, John. Is it Matt? Okay, is Matt ready to go? Matt's thumbs up. All right, folks, let me draw your attention to our business at hand. Welcome, and it's my pleasure to call this meeting to order, and I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for being here and braving the much-needed rain that happened earlier today. I was glad to see it. At this time, I am on item number 3, which is remote location identification for remote attendance when permitted by statute. On the dais tonight, we have Trustee Ford, Trustee Sikora, myself, Clerk Farmer, Trustee Chapman, and Trustee Cole, and joining us remotely as permitted by statute. Claire, if you would please identify yourself and your location.
Yes, I am Claire Bushka, Treasurer, and I am at my home in Oshtemo Township.
Thank you. Just as a reminder to the members of this body, in case I forget, also our IT team over there, Claire is permitted to vote by statute this evening, so if I forget, please let me know. This time I invite a member of this body to share one of the township core values as we enter this meeting.
I'll share. Core value, dedicated to open communication to improve productivity and effectiveness.
Thank you, Trustee Cole. Now I move to agenda item number 5, the approval of the agenda. Before I ask for a motion for approval of agenda, I want to make sure that this body received the message that a budget amendment was added. The Township Public-Facing Board agenda was updated to reflect that. If there are any other questions or changes to the agenda, I would hear about those now. If there are none, then
I move we approve the agenda as currently showing on the website.
Second.
Is that okay? Isn't that
It's totally fine.
okay?
That's what I do too, Neil. I go to the one on the website just to be safe.
That's funny. Yes, okay. So we will be working off the agenda as approved from the website. I have a motion by trustee Sikora and support by trustee Cole. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Treasurer?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we'll move into the work session, which is we'll begin with the accomplishments, goals, and values. And we have clerk, oh,
Skipped
God.
one.
You know what? This is what I get for having an ink pen in front of me. You're right. I just checked it off and moved on. Now is our time, item 6 on the agenda for our public official and community partner updates. I see we have our county commissioner here, Dale DeLue. Dale, did you have anything to share?
You could have skipped over me. I was just here 2 weeks ago, so I don't have a lot to share, although I don't know if you saw the meeting last week. When the county, we put out grant requests because we had $400,000 to spend. Well, we received over 61 requests, Oshtemo being one of them. And the total request totaled a little bit over 7 million. We have 400,000, and I believe we'll be discussing that a week from tonight, and I will do my best to get Oshtemo some of the funds that they requested for a good purpose. I don't want to steal any thunder from the sheriff's employees here, but
They're in the regular session.
the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department Citizens Police Academy will be starting up again. You can apply online. It basically runs from Labor Day through Thanksgiving, once a week on Wednesday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. I believe the supervisor, you went through that? I think it's probably a really valuable experience to anybody that wants to attend and apply. I'm sure there'll be more applications than they have openings, but I would encourage any citizens of Oshtemo to apply for that. And lastly, yesterday I received an email invitation to the annual Kalamazoo County Farm Bureau meeting. They only meet once a year, and it's this year on August 28th at 6 p.m. at a farm in Scotts, Michigan. So if you want to attend, feel free to look it up online. I know we do have some farmers still out here in Oshtemo Township, so if anybody's interested, they should look into that. And I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for the commissioner? I have a couple comments, but Treasurer Bushka, do you have any questions for the commissioner before we move forward?
I do not.
Thank you, Treasurer Bushka. So I will take this opportunity, since you're here and you mentioned that we submitted a grant in the competitive grant process, and I appreciated the county reaching out very directly to local municipalities, I assume other organizations, to apply. Just so that this board is aware, as well as any citizens with us or watching, is that Oshtemo submitted a grant requesting the county to partner with us to do a traffic study along the Drake Road corridor and then continued westward on M43. And it's our hope, Oshtemo has already committed $20,000 for that grant to do Drake Road South, correct, Anna? And so this would allow the expansion of that study to go Drake Road North, which is where the youth complex, the youth sports complex is going, as well as help us extend the traffic study west. So thank you for mentioning that. And I know you have a tough job ahead of you, but, you know, we would appreciate your support
I will
in
do what
that.
I can.
And then the next thing I want to point out is the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Citizens Academy. And I will make sure, we have our new meeting communications manager here. I'll make sure that we push that out on our social media as well. A very valuable experience to sort of understand the depth and the amount of responsibility both internally in the sheriff's office as well as out on the street. And so it is a significant time commitment, but very valuable. So I encourage, if you have the opportunity to participate, I know Trustee Cole, that might feel a little bit like been there, done that for you, but it is a worthwhile activity, given the fact that we partner with the Sheriff's Department at a significant level. I think it's particularly important for this board and our public that consume that service to understand all that goes involved. So thanks for mentioning that, Dale.
Thank you.
Sherry, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask a follow-up to your statement.
Sure.
I thought the traffic impact study from the youth complex going in was going to be covered by them.
Who's them?
The youth complex,
No.
No?
No, the traffic impact study, they have, I believe that they shared that they would, there was some road building that was included as a part of that project, but not the traffic impact study.
Okay, so our traffic, if this gets approved, our traffic impact study will be done, I'm assuming, prior to them moving in, and then they would build additional
That would be
roads,
the
or that would
goal.
be in negotiations, of course, but,
That would be the goal, to get it done
Okay.
ahead of construction.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no. And I think, just as, like, for clarifying, so the city of Kalamazoo, the county, Kalamazoo Township are also engaged in this work. So the view of this grant and asking the county to partner with us is an extension of what's coming out of downtown, down West Main. Now that the youth sports complex property has been identified, that we include Drake Road North in that, and then Oshtemo can then do Drake South from West Main and Drake down to Stadium Drive, and then also out West Main, as we know, there's more. So, Anna, did I hit that right?
Yeah, I think we could reference the pages in the county's packet too, and I can send that out to the board so that they can kind of see how we describe the limits and what would be included in the scope.
Yeah, there's a really, yes, I think that's a great idea. We can add that just as.
Because I think
if you
that will
wanna
help
read it.
clarify some of the terminology we use at different stages of the study process.
And are we trying to be strategic? Dale, planning ahead, Commissioner, yes, we are. And that goes for you too, Mr. Stayhauer. And actually, I would like to share that the Road Commission did issue a lot of support for that grant as well, as did many of the road agencies, Commissioner DeLue. So I do hope you'll read our submission. Am I pitching for it? You betcha I am. Okay. Next, I do see our Road Commission representative, Mr. Stayhauer. Do you have any information you wish to share with the board?
Our road commissioner, Kalamazoo County. I didn't have specific information tonight. I haven't been here for a month or so, maybe a month and a half, so I'm paying a visit to stay in tune with your township. That's all. If you have comments, I can receive them.
Any questions for the commissioner? Claire, do you have any?
No.
Okay, thank you. I have one, and I briefly shared, I want to share it publicly though, just so it's out there. And I've been in conversation with the director as well as one of the engineers, but we do hope to be on the Road Commission's agenda at the August 26th meeting, I'm hoping, so that we can close or at least get permission on the sale of a parcel that's related to our Fruit Belt Trail project. So thank you for being
Good.
here, but I want you to know it's coming down the pipe.
I have heard it's coming down the pipe, so you have more direct information than I do, but I'm told it's coming. Good to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, good, thank you. I know our Parks Director is very anxious to close that chapter so that she can move forward on the Fruit Belt Trail development and the requirements by the state of Michigan in the Michigan National, or Michigan Trust Fund grant. Is there anyone else here representing a community partner or, and I'm sorry, the Sheriff's Department, you're on the regular agenda, so you don't get to be now. All right. So then I will close public, do we have anyone online with a raised hand? No? Okay. So next we'll move into the work session, and first on the topics is the accomplishment goals and values, and we have Clerk Farmer here, and I would invite you to
Yeah.
share your work.
I suppose values, vision, they could be interchangeable.
I know, right?
My vision.
I mess them up all the time, actually. I mess up accomplishments and achievements. They're both A words.
And joining us tonight is the clerk's office staff, Melissa Rugg, my deputy clerk, and assistant clerk, and Carrie Tyler, who is my assistant to the clerk, but she does our records management, and she is our election specialist. What do I need to push, John? No. Yes. My AGVs didn't make it into the packet, but I've basically just taken some of the information from this presentation and I populated my AGVs with that, if you guys want to take a look at it. I can make that available to you, and this report that I created is available on our website. So, 2024. This is a reminder, I do this before all of my AGVs, a reminder of the work that my office does outside of our statutory duties. This is a list that's included for the public to understand and for the board. And we get into, this is a simple presentation. We're breaking down what we did and what sort of traffic we saw last year. So the first, the clerk's office manages accounts payable. We manage the general ledger. We manage cemeteries. We manage records. We manage elections. And you're going to see some interesting numbers from all of those. So this is similar to last year. Only a lot more, but the clerk's office last year, and by clerk's office, I mean very specifically Melissa Rugg, right there, that's her. She processed $9.1 million in payments. That was 3,362 invoices. And I've added these other numbers here as a reminder to the board. We are retroactively still going through and creating ACH and EFT transfer accounts so that we're not dealing in paper checks anymore. And this is how much, this is where we moved to. We still did $5 million in paper checks, but we did almost $4 million in ACH transactions. And EFT transfers, we'll get there. I mean, we only have our PNC bill that we pay, so. Are there any questions about any of this? All right. So a lot of this is very similar to what we had last year, but we will continue reviewing the purchasing policy, and I don't do that in a silo by myself. I do that in conjunction with the treasurer and the supervisor and staff. Again, retroactively enrolling vendors in ACH and EFT. And we continue with our regular work, training new and current staff to best utilize our purchase orders, understanding the purchasing policy and general payables procedure, which we adjust so that the policy does exactly what we do, right? It's a reflection of what we do. And then, of course, reviewing procedures for clarification. I would not, sometimes for vision, staff has a number in mind about, ongoing costs like that would show up in the budget. We don't have that for accounts payable. But we do for cemeteries. Before I move on, is there anything else about accounts payable? Did you have anything you wanted to add? No? All right. Yeah. All right, cemeteries by the numbers, and also Melissa does all the cemetery management as well. So last year, just some interesting numbers. These aren't like, we don't plan for burials. Whatever happens, happens, right? We put in a small number in the budget, but the money that goes in is the money that goes out, so it's easy to track. Anyway, we had 44 burials last year. That was $28,000. We sold 48 plots, 15 foundation orders, and then we spent $20,000 in tree removal, lawn care, military flags, the things that need to happen to keep the cemeteries running. We're going to continue improving the green burial process. That's ongoing. And the expansion of lawn burials in Genesee Prairie, that I'm actually pursuing right now. I'm trying to get quotes from excavators for what will be our 11th section in Genesee Prairie. Also, again, with large-scale tree and shrub removal, we already have a lot out there that we have to manage in our cemeteries. Shrubs that were planted 50 years ago no longer look like cute little shrubs. They are massive, and I mean massive, to remove, and they're damaging the headstones and foundations. In addition to that, we also had some major storm cleanup from the storms earlier this year. Any questions about cemeteries?
So when I've been out at the cemetery and when I was putting out flags, for example, there are some headstones there that are like really, really old, you know, Spanish-American War, you know, I mean, really old.
Really old, yeah.
Yeah, is there any plan or, I'm trying to understand the cost balance of restoring some of these or the ones that are broken, especially the really old ones, you know?
We do not have the ability to spend tax dollars on restoring those headstones.
So we could not spend anything. So if you could have like a volunteer group or something that wants to restore some of them that are covered in.
Yeah.
Ivy
And there
leaf
are
oak.
people that do that. I
Yeah.
don't know that there are any out in any of our cemeteries, but I do know that they do that. I'd welcome it, sure.
Okay.
We'd work out the liability insurance and,
Yeah, I know someone who does that, and so they were,
Yeah.
and then I know they do it in the city. There's a group that does the cities in the cities cemeteries, but I didn't know what our policy was. But it's strictly no tax dollars on that.
right, we don't spend tax dollars on, because it would be like improving a private property. I mean,
No,
they aren't
you know.
purchasing property from us, but that headstone itself is their property, so we wouldn't have any ability to pay tax dollars toward improvement.
Okay, think that's helpful to understand that difference of where the line is on that.
Yeah.
Who can pay for what and who can't. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, we'll get into records management. Now, this is the one, it would be so awesome if I had the numbers. If we knew exactly how many files have been digitized, I mean, could you even guess? I couldn't even guess. But Carrie has been so busy cleaning out old files in conjunction with the planning department and public works. We're working with the building department. She is just scanning like crazy, which, you know, creates its own problem with storage on the other end, but we deal with one thing at a time here. The only thing on this section that I would say has a price tag attached to it is the utilizing Laserfiche to full capacity and that possible move to the cloud. John is now currently doing some work. We're going to see about how much it would cost to do that and if it would be beneficial to us. So that would be a budget item that could show up later on. Any questions about records?
Hold on, I'm not sure how many buttons I pushed here. Okay, so, and I'm Laserfiche, I'm like introductory user. So what capacity, do you envision that tool might be able to do to help us?
We could use it for workflows, we could use it for forms, we could really consolidate what we're doing and get it all in one-stop shop in Laserfiche.
You mean forms like create and build forms?
What? Yes. Okay, yes.
So, oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and that was one of the biggest things that came out of Carrie's trip to the conference, was that we are underutilizing, of course, which we knew, but the move to the cloud and using the forms, it would be much more efficient.
So what about project management? Does that software, and if you can't,
Yeah,
I'm
I wouldn't
taking
have an
you
answer for you.
I don't mean to do that, but
No, that's okay.
I mean, because there's a lot of discussion right now in various departments about project management software, and so if Laserfish had that capability, I mean,
We
what I
can
would.
look into it. I know that we've looked at some of that management software in the
Yeah.
past. But we can look into what Laserfish
I mean,
offers.
because just think if it was a project management software and then you saved it and it went, oh my gosh,
It
that
would
would be
be- it
amazing.
would be good.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, thank you,
Yeah.
sorry.
Anything else about records? All right, and then the last one is elections. So Oshtemo Township has over 19,000 registered voters. We are the third highest population in the county. We had 4 elections during an election year, so that was perfectly okay. We had the elections in the election year. We served 22,000 voters. And I have on here, over 15,000 absentee ballots, 102 election workers. That's not entirely true. That would be 102 election shifts that were covered, not necessarily individual workers. And then I wanted to share, which I think I may have in the past, but that we had over 1,900 voters who voted early out in the community at the Expo Center in Portage, on the north side at the Fetzer Center. Other interesting numbers for the year, we had over 2,700 voter registrations. We spent over $22,000 on postage, and our election admin total cost is over $122,000, and that excludes staff salaries. That is just basic running. That's just what it costs to operate. Are there any questions about voting or elections? All right. The piece that would show up in the budget in our capital improvement plan for elections is going to be the replacement of our tabulators in 2027. So that'll be could be up to $80,000. So we'll see what machines are available, because we would also need a new high-speed tabulator with our regular tabulators. So we'll just work with the county, we'll test out machines, and the county goes into an agreement. We go all together and get the same equipment, and we'll see what's available as far as high-speed tabulators. Any questions about elections? And that's all I have.
I have a question. I'm sorry. So, do you anticipate, when do you take a look at the number of voters by precinct and sort of make those decisions about changing precincts and?
Well, so there's another update. My intention is we will be consolidating some precincts before next year.
Okay. And, okay.
And that will have budget implications too, because we have to mail every single voter with their new cards, so it can get pretty expensive, but it'll be a good move for the long term.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, thank you, and thank you guys for coming.
It's really raining outside. All right. Thank you, Clerk Farmer, and Melissa and Carrie, who not only are amazing professionals, but also make our workspace very enjoyable.
Yeah, they
So I
do.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
We have
they
a
do.
really good vibe in our office, I think. Okay, so next we have the AGVs of the treasurer. And I know Treasurer Bushka, I guess we didn't correspond on this today. Are you comfortable moving forward remotely?
I can. I would just refer people to the attachment that was sent to them in a different email to kind of review with me.
Yeah, and just for clarification, none of the AGVs were in the packet. They were all shared with the board independently. So if folks want to take a moment from your device and, do you want me, Claire, because I think I can do it pretty quickly, do you want me to have John share your AGVs on the screen here at Township Hall?
Yes, that would be fine. Or I could just I could read them as well.
No, but I think it's nice to look at them too, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Okay, hold on just a second. John, if I, You're walking away, that's not good. Oh, okay. Ooh, that's not where I thought those were at. Hold on just a second. Oh, I know, because I stuck them here. Okay. So, do you need me to share them with you? They're in my cloud drive. Email it? Okay, no problem. Hold on, just a second.
Grab some water.
Say that again, Oshtemo? Got it. Sent. Thank you, John. All right, Claire, your AGVs are now on the screen in front of the board in the audience and the public.
Wonderful.
This
So,
one's mine.
Oh, is it?
I believe so.
Oh, no, that's, it says meeting communications.
Well, that was because I used theirs as my template. I realize now.
Oh, no. Oh, this says clerk. All right, John, I lied, just a second. I picked the wrong one. I did. Let me try again. Let me pick the one that says treasurer AGB. Clerk and treasurer both start with C. Well, they don't.
No, they don't.
No. Meeting room. Okay, let's try this one. I probably should have opened it before I sent it. I think this is right, though. Ta-da! All right, Claire.
okay. And I'm not gonna read this all line by line now that you can see it, but my office pretty much performs the same key aspects year after year, collecting tax revenues and other revenues that are coming in from the state, other governments, bonds, and things like that. So when I talk about the incoming fund amount, I just want to clarify for video purposes and meeting purposes that that is the entirety that the township collects and not what is owned by the township. Most of that is sent elsewhere, like the county, the schools, the library, for tax purposes. But in 2024, just under 75 million was collected, and I'm happy to say that about 10% of that was paid online, which is what we're trying to push towards. So people aren't walking around with cash or losing checks in the mail and things like that. We collected 97.5% of all the property tax bills for the 2023 tax year that was collected into the beginning of 2024. We ensure that all of the specials on these tax bills, so fire, police, brownfields, IFTs, sodas, and DDAs are all collected appropriately as per the documents that set those up. Into 2025, one of the key points is we are headed towards, instead of 75 million, 90 million coming into the township. I'm not asking for anything for staffing or anything like that. I'm very confident that Sally, my assistant, and myself can kind of continue keeping up with all of that. But we're also on track to collect about 12.5% of that online. So as you can see, that is growing. Some of that is due to setting up the ability for the building department to take those online payments for their permits, which is extremely helpful for them. It makes their flow much quicker. But I do believe that jump is from the building department. And we have also set up the ordinance enforcement department for them to accept payments online for inspections and things like that. We have just yesterday taken care of the 2029 DLP for striking with the courts. So that can be removed from our records. So that is complete. The budget request that I had last year, I'm happy to announce for the SAFE, we finally received about a week or two ago, and it is now in my office, well under what I requested. So that is done and processed, so I thank you for that. The goal to collect in 2024 was 98%. We do set personal goals in the treasurer's office to kind of beat the year before. And I believe we collected 97.1, so I'm going to reevaluate those goals that we have set and see if we can do a little bit better this year and get back up to the 98. Let's see. Our office takes care of the sewer and water agreements for signatures and filing. Obviously, Public Works sets up the actual document, but we make sure it gets signed, the deposits received, and then we send those to the clerk's office for filing. We also do the rental tracking, which Sally is basically responsible for, and she keeps track of the rental per people, the dates, the deposits, the payments, the insurance, and the refunds. So kind of an all-around with that. And I believe she's slowly working with the Parks Department administrative assistant to train that person so that if they're busy or if Sally's out or something like that, that Karen knows how to step in and take over while she's gone. We have, in earlier years, the city of Kalamazoo would send us delinquent water and sewer liens to assess to the bills, and that's become more of a annual thing now as opposed to an intermittent thing, so we're also making sure that those are all correct on their tax bills. We provide, we did for 25 and we have just completed for 26 the projected revenue for the budgeting for our 2026 operational year. And then for 2026, the goal is to then strike 2020 personal delinquent personal property bills that have not been paid. And from now until then, we'll make, much effort to work on collecting those before we even look at what we would send to the courts. We work with the Brownfield Authority to make sure that the funds are match what is requested from them. I'm looking forward to working with them on the new housing ones that we have coming. So that will be a journey to oversee and make sure is correct. We report to the states for the IFT that are collected, do the state reporting for revenues, and then some pilot payments that they oversee. Our goal is to reach 98 at this time, the 98.25 for collection. So there is a consideration for maybe sending out additional tax bills maybe in late January, but that is something that we're going to discuss a little bit further. And at the bottom there, this is just a committees and boards group for the membership that I have and that I attend. And that would wrap up my ABGs. Fairly simple and quite repetitive.
Do you have any questions from the trustees for the treasurer? Well, Claire, I hope you feel better soon. I appreciate you putting your committee updates on your AGVs, and I think, Clerk Farmer, we've discussed this before, it's been a long time since we've reported out to the board the various committees that we serve on and other trustees to make sure we're participating. So I'm glad that you did that, and it makes me think that we should do it not only for the full-time, or the electeds, but also the staff, because we have staff that are also participating in many others. So thank you for doing that. I have one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. One question I have is the electronic payments for taxes are trending upwards. Do we see, I guess I'm wondering how much that costs the taxpayer. I guess that's what I'm wondering, and are there, versus just coming and paying a paper check? Like, is the convenience worth, yeah, okay.
So if you pay with a debit or credit card, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, or PayPal, it's 2.75% of the entire bill. If you elect to pay with savings ACH or checking ACH, it's $1.95.
Oh.
And so I always recommend, like, hey, if it's in your savings account, don't put it on a card, just, use a check. And so it's very convenient to pay by check online. They just enter their account and routing number, and it's $1.95 no matter what the size of the bill.
Yeah, thanks. I guess that's all the questions I have. Do any other questions from the board? All right, thank you, Treasurer Bushka.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, again, it was shared with the board. It's not in the packet, although it will be shared publicly, is the draft request for proposals for strategic planning for the board. So I want to give you a moment to find that. And I want to talk about this with the board because I don't want there to be any desired outcomes that aren't addressed in the RFP before we send the RFP out for proposals for strategic planning. So in here, David, our operations coordinator, drafted this. There were no, and just so that you're aware, and I know some board members have been a part of different planning, I couldn't find anything in historical documents that sort of aligned with this, so this was kind of generated from scratch. I primarily want to talk about outcomes, and I want to make sure that no one that participates in the board retreat is expecting an outcome out of that strategic planning that isn't identified in this proposal. And it, it doesn't have, we don't have to necessarily, let me give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'll use Trustee Ford's example that you've talked about in the past that I think is really relevant and a value that we've expressed, is that green energy and alternative forms of energy are an important value of the board. And so how, what would you like to see related to that topic as an outcome of the strategic plan? So are there topics, for example, green energy, that are of value to you as a board member that you want to make sure that are in this RFP so that they get addressed during the strategic plan. Does that make sense? Turning the page. Okay, so I'm looking for some input from folks so that we make sure we get out of this what we want. Yep.
Do we want to readdress or reevaluate our mission values, our
Mission, vision, or
mission, vision,
values?
Yes.
So I will tell you this, that did, when we did our sticker choices of what we wanted, that did not come out of that activity as far as, but we could revisit that.
Yeah, at this point, I think the mission,
Vision and values. Mission, vision,
are only
vision,
Dusty and
corporate-
I's at this point. I think we're the only people that were
Okay.
part
On
of
the
that
board, so,
development
yeah.
process. So, yeah, I think it would be good for this board to do that.
Update it,
Yep.
Okay.
obfuscate. We gotta get the word obfuscate out of there.
Listen, I'm just, what was the word I was stumbling on today? Strategic, no, what was it?
Systemic.
Systemic. I was just like, I looked at that word many times and kept saying.
Systemic, systematic.
Systematic, yeah. All right, so revisit mission, vision, and core values. Anything else?
I mean, what you said earlier about me, I want that to be a part of the conversation.
Green energy, yeah.
I don't know if it would be a part of this retreat, but I'm slowly but surely becoming radicalized on bicycling infrastructure or the lack thereof. So I want to make sure that that is touched on at some point. Because we've got plans in place for our system to develop naturally. We need to go faster.
Can we call that non-motorized?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I'd like to talk about programming.
Okay.
When we talk about like elder programming, senior programming, and youth programming within our parks and community centers.
Absolutely.
That is not a thing that I'm aware that we really do now, probably for a host of reasons, but I think it's something that we need to consider as a board and trying to find ways to help.
Yeah, where we are now.
Where are
versus
we?
Where do we vision ourselves?
It is a thing I hear frequently, especially speaking with elderly residents within the township. There's no programming at the community center, or there's limited programming at the, where can I find some activities, with my peers, that type of stuff. So I want to make sure that's a part of this board's conversations.
I had a wonderful conversation with a resident a couple of weeks ago who, she and her daughter live in the township. They thought they were city residents, which is not uncommon. And so they went to register her daughter's children for city program, or city youth programming for the summer, which the city of Kalamazoo has a wonderful and robust youth programming. We don't have the capacity right now to sort of do that next summer even, but I think if we wanted to be in that kind of position, then it definitely requires sort of some strategic planning to get there. What was wonderful about that conversation, and she very much understood, like, I thought I lived in the city, I lived in Oshtemo, what do you have for youth programming? I'm like, well, we have some, but it doesn't look like what the city has. She's like, and she totally understood that. And I'm like, but what it did is open the door to a conversation with the YMCA and Next Step City of Kalamazoo. So things we could consider is, could we put money in our budget for families to apply for summer programming for our kids, since we don't have Oshtemo programming, but for our kids to be funded to attend other programming that's supported in other areas. So, I mean, it's just an idea.
I mean, open to that
Yeah.
having that conversation, certainly. I'd like to understand, what, I don't know much about programming in this space, right? So like, well, what does it typically entail? What are the offerings that are out there? Who's running them? Is there an opportunity for us to allocate, a fixed amount of money each year, and maybe we work with a third party to operationalize that? I don't know. I just want to have those conversations to
Yep.
see if there's space within what we do at the township to do that kind of programming.
Yep.
So,
I'd like to make sure that we also discuss what we have talked about a few times here and there about even this property being kind of a central community hub. And we talk about it and I get excited and then we don't talk about it, other things come up. So definitely want to explore that.
It's in conversation internally, and so you will definitely, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, but it is not foregone as far as this area being a community hub.
Yeah, I think it would be perfect. Got the fire department right here, do all kinds of stuff. So, that's all.
And this is one I don't know how to verbalize completely, but, when you look around at other communities, they have festivals, they have an identity, and for a while now, I've been saying we don't have an identity. It's very difficult to say who we are, what we are, and without that, it's hard to recruit other things here. Having some kind of festival, having something that we could celebrate and show off, bring tourists in to show off our community would be something I think that could be very beneficial long-term. But I cannot, and I've been racking my brain over, I cannot find what it would be, other than the Bacon Cheeseburger Festival or something bizarre like that. Because those ones actually do get a lot of attention, and I say that half in jest, but I don't know, we don't have predominance of blueberry fields, so we don't have a blueberry festival or strawberry festival. So, I think having that festival and bringing people in helps our businesses, helps sell our community, and hopefully in the long term brings us more small businesses.
Got it, Asparagus Festival, run it.
The Asparagus Festival.
Most of it's probably hauled into the community. One thing I want to, so, believe it or not, I do listen to the comments you have to say, but Trustee Ford, another thing you brought up, I don't know if it was part of a work session or whatever, is that, and this is a long green energy related but not the same, is that how are we gonna treat, do we plan for weather-related incidents? So we've been lucky so far that climate change, I think we need to talk about, do we even think, like, where are we at as a body regarding climate change? But something that you mentioned in the past is making sure that in the event there's an issue, that we can be prepared to respond immediately and then not have to wait to bring a budget amendment to the next meeting and then all that stuff. So
I think I don't have any ideas of what form that should take beyond, we should have a real high-level conversation about what that looks like and having monetary availability to respond in emergencies, right? Ordinances, policy around how that is handled. But it goes further, right? And I think we're already doing some of this in a lot of the engineering and design work that we do today. It just needs to be built to another specification for the types of weather that we're going to be experiencing. So making sure that that's a part of our day-to-day business, I think, and it's just our new normal.
Well, I think as we invest in our sewage system, stormwater systems, we're going to have to be more prepared for what's going on outside right now. And that capacity is difficult to plan for because it's much more expensive and it's once in and so it's hard to think about it, but it's something that previously there was federal government funding for that's been clawed back. I know there's some limited state funding that's been out there for that. But it's absolutely essential. If we're going to put the money in, I'd rather it go into something that can
And just
accommodate.
having some clarity, certainty, I think, for everyone in the township about what the government, their local government's going to do after a natural disaster? So if there's a ton of private property damage, can they count on the township to put somebody out to come collect storm debris from the curb? Or what is it gonna be? Let's have some certainty to what that looks like.
I think that's right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, trustee Sikora. I heard you pop on.
No, I wanted to go back to a different topic, so finish that conversation, but.
Oh, I think that we need to, yes, I want to have that conversation about what the expectations are so that the residents know how we're going to react. The last storm was, I mean, I believe that the township reacted appropriately to my understanding of storm damage. However, I don't want to be caught if it's a lot worse, that we aren't prepared for that. But I want to hearken back to a statement about the stones, the grave markers that, so I've heard two different things, and this is really addressed to Attorney Porter, but that public dollars cannot be used for private properties, but then I see different municipalities taking a different angle at that, and so I guess I'm wondering, are we utilizing historical culture on what we've done, or I guess I want to understand what state statute should we be relying upon if we're gonna
Why can't we clean headstones, but we can clean up trees?
Right, exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell.
Well, when you're cleaning up trees, you're cleaning up the public portion of the property. Headstones are, as your clerk indicated, are private property. And you can only do what you're authorized to do by the Constitution or state statute. I could take a look at it, but I think Dusty is absolutely right that that's private property. And we don't have the ability to expend funds on maintenance of private property.
So so this is a thing where I've seen different communities react in a different way. And I just want to make sure that we are all operating from, if we invest in storm cleanup, that or flooding or whatever, like whatever the disaster is, that we're operating under state statute, and that, we're not treating different catastrophes different ways and
But
different.
to me, it's different. You're talking about something that happened in our community that affected a lot of people versus, it's not a catastrophe that the headstones are in the condition they are. It is just wear and tear and normal, right? Unless you're referring to them being damaged from
Well, I
a
think
natural disaster or a storm or something.
to me, it's the use, so it's like, even take the examples out, whether or not public dollars, so tax dollars, can be used for, and I would say cleanup is an improvement. If you have a mess and somebody comes in and cleans it up, that is an improvement on that mess. Whether or not, if a tree falls on my property that's inside the right-of-way as a result of a storm, can we use township resources to clean that up for that individual?
And I think that's a very important discussion that we have to have, because I've had 3 trees in the right-of-way that have fallen across the road that I've called the road commission and they've cleaned up. But I also have trees that that are in my property that will fall into the right-of-way, and I'm paying next week to have people come and take those trees all down personally. And if I'm paying for being proactive to take those trees down, and then there's a storm that happens and a bunch of stuff comes down and I dump it out on the side of the road for the township to pay to pick up, I'm going to push back on that. I think we need to have that discussion, because what happens on the east side is going to be very different than the rural west side. And we need to figure out and have that discussion. We don't need to decide it right here.
No.
But I think we do need to decide that, who's going to pay for that and how, if, you know,
I think and so when we talk about green energy and, you know, the effect of climate change, if we think that is a thing that needs to be addressed from a local government area, from my seat, I see communities reacting differently. And if we're gonna react a particular way, I want us to be on the same page and communicate that with the residents about what we're gonna do.
Yeah, and I think it's important we do it before the next
Okay,
situation, so, yeah,
all right.
good call.
so I wanted to. if
Yeah,
you were done
please,
with
go
that,
ahead,
I wanted to
Neil.
go back to the earlier discussion, only not to change it or say that there's anything wrong with it, but I wanted, you know, like Friends of the Park does programming, that's one of their charges. And we are actually having this discussion about what else can we do, but of course, we're a small group that only can do so much. I'm actually, in my comments, will announce another thing that we're doing, or 2 events that we're doing. But again, it's how much money is Parks or the township going to spend on that? How many people do we have to do it, staffing and everything? So it's a good discussion to have, but I don't want us to have a discussion outside of the knowledge of what other groups are doing. I'm kind of throwing that out there. Let's understand what the Parks Department is doing, what the Friends of the Parks group are doing, as we decide, well, what do we want to do going forward? And in our comprehensive plan group, we discussed having festivals and that's where the whole hub thing was going on. We talked about there's a big student population. We should have something student-oriented over on that section, because there's a bunch, you know, we did throw that out there, and I think those are all great ideas, and we should pursue those and have that discussion, but realizing that who's going to do it, who's going to pay for it. But I think we need to agree that this is the way, where we want to go, and we want to focus on this, and we're going to do something to make it happen.
All right. That's really good feedback. And I will take this back. Is there I'm going to just say this. You have until Friday to add anything that you want addressed in the RFP. If I don't have it by Friday, it's going out, okay? So, and then we will put it, you know, all those things will be filled in, the deadline, all that good stuff. So we'll keep you in the loop. But you have until Friday to provide any further comments on the RFP. So it is 6:32. We are going to take a break, and we will reconvene at 6:45. Thank you.
Do I want to drink another Coke?
This is like
They love
something
it.
they don't normally get.
And then they get Wendy's afterwards. They get Frosties.
So they're like, hey, let's go to a township meeting.
Well, I bought at the beginning of the year the little Frosty key card. So you get a free junior Frosty any day.
John, it looks like the video is still going while we're on break.
Trustees, buy one, get one free.
The Zoom?
But they have kids eat free at
Oh, all right, usually it goes dark. It's fine. No, it's 2 minutes till we get back on the dais. I was just, yeah.
No.
how they define kids.
Yeah. They act like a little kid.
There's a few of them still left, and their breakfast is amazing. But there's a big boy graveyard. Did they really? Really? Where? Oh, okay. The one in downtown Grand Rapids?
No, the one on 28th Street.
Okay.
It's not there anymore. It's on the corner of 28th and Harris. Right across from Myers. And then still there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, big boy, when I was growing up, there was a big boy in my town. But it was affordable. And then over time, it became unbelievably unaffordable.
Because I think they just,
Corporate.
they never, like, really got with the times. And they just stayed the same. And it was like just a lot of elderly people that wanted to come in.
But then they all died.
Yeah.
And then they all died, and then
Yeah,
there's nothing.
yeah, and then there was no customers, so.
I think the Battle Creek one's a lot.
3 cases of Slim Jims home. It's my favorite sandwich.
Is Matt ready to go too?
That's fun.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. All right, terrific. We are back in session, and we are moving on to agenda item number 8, which is public comment on anything on the consent agenda or non-regular session items. And so at this time, anyone joining us, whether it be here in person at Township Hall or online, would be your time to provide public comment on consent agenda items or any other non-session items. Anyone here with us? No? Do we have any hands raised online? We do not. All right. Seeing none here before us and none online, I'm going to close public comment and move to item number 9, which is our consent agenda. This includes the meeting minutes of our regular meeting July 22nd of 2025, the receipts and disbursements report, the second reading of ordinance number 682, fire code and local fire safety regulations, and item D, second reading regarding ordinance number 683, text amendments to false alarms. Do we have any members of the board wishing to pull any items from the consent agenda? There are none. I would entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second?
A motion by trustee Ford and a second by trustee Sikora. All in favor say aye. Aye. Clerk or treasurer
Aye.
Buska? Thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have item number 10, and I'm pleased to welcome Detective Sergeant Kelm to the podium, and he will present an update from Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office.
I'm gonna try to just plug in here. I should be with the thumb drive. Okay. Just, I wanted to get your approval.
It's the Chinese fires. Exactly. You know, if all of our files crash, we are going to blame you.
Thank you.
That's why the laptop's only on the guest network.
All right.
Thumb drives are so.
Just Just your presence helped.
What is your perfume?
I am ready.
It's good, I like it, it smells nice.
All right, I'm ready to go. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Detective Sergeant Adam Kelm with the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office. Good to see everyone again. I want to thank everyone for being here. And I want to thank you guys for your flexibility in scheduling me. My job carries me in, out of the state, in, out of the county. And so I wasn't able to make it to the last the meeting, so thank you for your flexibility. I'll try to make this quick, but since the last time we talked, the first presentation was bringing us up to speed. We hadn't had one for a while, so if you guys recall, it was from 2022, and I did more of a yearly comparison, kind of as a let's get caught up over the last several years on where we stand as far as call volumes, what kind of calls we've been receiving. So now, with my position being here on a regular basis, and getting to talk to you guys more regularly, I plan to zoom in more on quarterly statistics, so we have a more recent and in-depth look at what's going on and how we can tackle those items together, or how I can improve, how we can improve as a sheriff's department, as what we're seeing. So that is the first installment of this more zoomed-in look, as I like to say. It is going to be for the months of May and June. I thought I was going to do this presentation in July. That's why July's not on here, but we'll get July on the next one. So, all right, we'll get going. So I'm going to start by going over some of the crime statistics, and then I'm going to move into crash statistics, as well as some township officer statistics, and then finally go over some updates that I have for my job, just some highlight items that I thought you guys might want to hear. Okay. So first is just the general calls for service. This is everything. This is everything that somebody calls into dispatch, emergency, non-emergency, someone makes an online complaint, any way it comes in. These are the numbers for May and June. The bottom one is May. That is 1,352 calls for service. And then June dipped down to 1,287. You may be wondering, why is there a discrepancy? The bar graph looks a little bit lopsided. I didn't plan on making it look that lopsided. It's only 100, not even 100 calls for service, that there's one more day in May. So believe it or not, we take a lot of calls for service in one day. So I wouldn't take too much out of that. So these are I kind of lump crimes together, or else we'd be here for even longer. But violent crimes are all on this slide. So looking at assaults, the blue graph is for the month of May. The orange is for the month of June. So that's relatively the same, 31, 34. Anytime they're that close, I don't take a whole lot away that needs to be looked into, other than that there's 31 or 34. CSCs, that's criminal sexual contact. So that's, if you're not familiar, that's both contact or all the way up to like a forcible rape. So it's any unwanted contact of a sexual nature that can move all the way up to the worst of them. So 10 and 7, which is actually down from the first quarter. The first quarter had right around 20 on a month, and right around 18. So I was happy to see that those numbers are down. Robbery stayed nice and low. That's been consistent since January of 2025. Child abuse, there was a 6 and a 2, and we really get those calls, a lot of them. There's not a lot of them, and I'm relieved to see that, but we get those calls a lot from CPS. We get some of them fresh in progress, but most of them are CPS calls that get faxed to our department. The CPS has an online anonymous reporting system you may or may not be familiar with. Any neighbor or any friend can call in, which is a good system. I'm a big proponent of it, but then they weed out what might be criminal and what might not be to us. So a little bit of background on those calls. And then homicides, we had one at the end of May. which I will update you guys on later. How about that? Make sure you guys don't fall asleep, keep you hanging. And then 0 in June. Yeah.
Just a quick question, are these are just calls for, not substantiated or not charged cases?
These are all calls for, and
So
I'm
we only took-
glad you're here, Kristen, because you would understand this. That means somebody reported it. Even if so take one of the assaults, for example, in that 31 in the blue column. If one of those assaults ends up getting investigated and then it came in as an assault, and through the investigation, it might have deemed to be non-criminal, or it might have even been more information and turned into something that it was not an assault. This is what it was originally reported as to us in the call that we responded to. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I guess I was just surprised, I mean pleasantly so. We only had 2 calls for service, for example, for our calls of allegations of child abuse
Yeah.
the whole month.
Yeah, yeah, yes, and then some of and it's not separated, so in the CSC column, if it's child abuse, just strictly like somebody hit their kid forcefully or grabbed their kid forcefully, that would be labeled child abuse. However, if it had any type of CSC related to it, it would fall into the CSC crime category and not the child abuse. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, I was too. That's a good number. I always hate, I'm kind of doing this as I review those stats. Anything with kids, anybody who's got them, I do. Hits a little hard. Property crimes. So these are the non-assaultive. So the B&E, breaking and entering, I talk in cop terms, so I will break it down. My family always yells at me to stop doing that. And home invasion. Closely related B&E would be if you had a building or an outbuilding or anything non-residence, or as a home invasion. If you break into that, that's then qualified as a home invasion. So they're closely linked together. 24 and 28 on those in May and June. And then retail fraud, which is always one of our problem areas, but that just comes because we have a lot of retail stores. You really don't have one without the other on that. We're a high retail area. 55 and 44, I'd like to see that going down. 11 significantly down enough for me to kind of take a look at, and I give credit to the number, and even since January, they've been going down steadily. I give a lot of credit to our CPO officers that are out there making contacts. Their cars are always there. They're walking the stores. That deters crime, and so that number's been going down like we hoped it would, which is great. And then larceny is non-retail. That's just theft, stealing somebody else's property. Those numbers are also down, which is great. 24 and 19, which is it's just a few down from the first quarter. And then UDAA, if you want to know, unauthorized driving away of an automobile, get your car stolen. I don't know why they don't use vehicle theft or something more applicable, but UDAA has been the term since I started, so.
Can you tell me what is it again?
Unauthorized driving away of an automobile.
Got it.
UDAA, yeah, let's make it harder than it has to be. So those are 14 and 16, which are also down. That I was happy to see that as well. And at any point, if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in. That very first slide that I showed with our calls for service, if you saw, we were right around 1,200 and 1,300. I did a quick comparison to the county's second busiest township, which would be Comstock, and their calls for service were around 780. So we're definitely keeping things moving here. Oshtemo Township was very comparable when I do comparables with what the closest thing would be Kalamazoo Township, which is kind of in our same ballpark. Portage and City still have the highest volume by quite a bit, and then we would be second in the same lines with Kalamazoo Township, followed by Comstock. Yeah.
I just want to, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but we're the largest populous township.
Yeah.
I don't know how far behind Comstock is from us. I think K Township's pretty close.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so I don't want to misrepresent.
Mislead.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. You're right. It is definitely, I don't know the numbers either. Even populous numbers, we're closer to township than we are to Comstock by quite a bit. Just from a county perspective alone, just township comparable, yep, but that contributes to it, just the population alone. Miscellaneous criminal offenses, I can't, there's a lot, but the fraud, embezzlement, and I might just jump ahead a little bit and give you guys an update on one of the issues, because it's related to the fraud and embezzlement. Fraud can be, as Deputy White can attest to, that's a cover-all. There's so many different types of fraud. You're talking from uttering and publishing of checks to identity theft to online scams. It's all lumped under this giant category umbrella called fraud. So fraud and embezzlement, and then harassing and stalking, which aren't quite assaultive. They can lead to that, but they're not there yet. So fraud and embezzlement, those numbers dropped significantly. The last quarter that I had the statistics from of fraud and embezzlement, we were about double of where we were. And if you remember, there was, I think as a board, you may have even heard from community members about the huge check washing scam that was going on. I mentioned it last time. I'm happy to announce that there was 3 people that are in custody. I had 57 cases here in Oshtemo alone that I lumped with Kalamazoo City and Township, and we worked with the postal inspector to get those guys federally charged. It took a sting, some empty swings and misses on where they might be and sitting on some mailboxes, but it finally hit, and lo and behold, our frauds went down quite a bit. So that's a pretty cool update to give you guys. Non-criminal takes up a lot of our call volume. Thankfully, I'd rather have it non-criminal. But suspicious, that could be anything somebody sees, somebody hears, somebody thinks might be going on that could be criminal that officers do respond to. 100 and 118, whereas trouble with subjects are more, the subject is known. A lot of neighbor disputes, or somebody gets into an argument, didn't get assaultive, but it's getting that way. That's a trouble with subject. 66 and 60, they're staying right around that same amount. And then noise complaints, July is not on here, so expect that one to boom up, pun intended. Mental health crisis, these are our community mental health pickups. So if you petition somebody for a mental health eval and that gets signed by a judge, we would have to respond to those, as well as people that might be depressed, contemplating suicide, or in worst case scenarios, actually considering or taking action for those. 9 and then 16 bumped up in June. I'm not into psychology or even a therapist to know why months, but I know a lot of times months we can see swings in those, seasonal depression. These are summer months, so I'm not sure why it almost doubled, but it did. This one is one that I know you guys like to see. What are your township officers doing? That I am not included in this. Just my job, by definition, requires me to follow up on cases that the deputies can't go to Grand Rapids or they can't go to Detroit to hunt down a suspect. That's what I do. So my
I
numbers
have
aren't
a
on
question on
Yeah.
that very specific thing, actually. So if you're following up out of district or out of the township, are those township cases?
here. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Because that is a question I have.
Good question.
Yeah,
Yep.
because that's a lot of time.
Oh, it's, yes.
For sure.
Huge time commitment,
And
but yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna refrain from another question, and I'll save it for another conversation, but it's good to know that when you're on the road dealing with things, it's related to township matters.
Yeah, I get sent in my queue, as I would call it, Oshtemo cases, and then wherever I go to solve those are why I would be out and about. Yep. So for the remainder, that would be including the CPOs who don't leave Oshtemo at all. I checked. Very rarely, because they're doing their thing with the businesses and the apartment complexes. So that's out of 2,000, I combined the two for May and June, 2,639 calls for service. 72 were ones that were fielded, and those are going to be Texas, like an alarm in Texas Township that's just over the line. A lot of them are either Texas or Alamo, which is our neighbors that are really close, that are in progress that another officer couldn't get to, and they swing up there to help out. So just percentage-wise, that's about 3% of the total in that paragraph. So they're doing their best to stay right there and call in Oshtemo Township. Traffic stops. So in May, which is the orange graph, we had 103 stops. In June, we had 83. Copeland's doing his thing. The other officers are as well, but his numbers definitely. This is probably triple than any other township has in the county as far as stops being made. And we do have a lot of traffic over here. And then citations written, more stops, more citations. You can see that, 43 and then 27 tickets being written. And then sometimes they're just nice and let people off with a warning, so.
That has never happened to me.
So, and I would just say, I saw Officer Copeland in the parking lot today, and I was like, I had parked next to Carrie's truck, and so, you know, my car was hidden by her truck, and I was like, kind of walking around looking, and he's like, your car's right over there, and I'm like, no, do not know my car.
That's true. You guys know him well. That's true. These are some crash statistics that, if you can or cannot see, that square is Oshtemo. It sounds like you guys are on the right track on where to do traffic studies around here, for sure. It lines up, but you guys can see what I put there on the statistics. We had 80 crashes in May, 1 fatal, 69 were just that. I was happy to see that number. I actually thought it would be higher. 69 only involved property damage. That's what that PDA is. And 11 involved an injury. So out of 80 crashes, only 11. I guess that's a testament, maybe auto manufacturing, I guess. Bumpers and airbags and the same. 2 had alcohol related, 0 drug related, 7 distracted driver related. Definitely see those going up. You guys have probably witnessed it when you're driving about. And then just your age considerations. Young drivers were responsible for 14, or 65 and over were responsible for 27. I did not put that age. That is the state of Michigan. So before anybody wants to throw anything at me. June crash statistics, we had 63, so we were down from May. And then 55 PDAs, 0 fatals. Love to see that. 55 involved just property damage, or 8 had injuries. Only 1 alcohol related, 6 driver distracted, and then 7 with the youth, and then 20 with anyone over 65. Any questions on those? You can almost see, if I go back, how do I go? Yeah, there we go. If I go back, you can almost see that the map does not change much. It's very consistent. You guys know that? All right, go ahead.
Go back to that.
The stat?
Yeah, just your last line there says less than 65.
They flipped the.
Under 65. Under the age of 65. Oh, sorry, over the age of 65. Oh,
It's
sorry.
correct on the previous screen, and
Sorry.
it switched, yeah, because you saw it went.
Got me. You gotta take me back to 8th grade math, my greater than less than symbols. Yeah. He picked it up right away, I'm sure, yeah. So I gave you the update on the mail fraud. Any questions on that? You should feel
Yeah.
a lot safer putting mail into the drop box.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I was out of town and I came home to an open mailbox and I had been gone for 3 days. And even though my 20-year-old was staying in the home, she couldn't bring the mail in, of course, or the garbage can up. So has there been a rash? When was the arrest that you spoke about with the check washing?
The arrest was late March of 2025.
So are we seeing more incidents of mail fraud? I mean,
So those were
mail theft, I should say.
Those specifically they weren't targeting residences, they were only targeting the US post office box. They had an arrow key that they had manufactured, which is really what's gonna end up getting them federally charged. To own or to make one of those carries more weight than the theft or the fraud, believe it or not. And so that's why I had to get the postal inspector involved to get something more to stick. And so we haven't seen them as much in residence rather than the post office.
So we had a resident call who had her mail stolen out of the big mailbox at 9th Street. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing, that mail fraud was happening out of the big drop boxes at the post office.
Yeah.
And I know you followed up with her. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was very upsetting to her. I mean, it was a significant amount of money that they had washed through her account. You said how many?
I had 57 for the rough amount of $350,000, and those Portage had some on Constitution.
That was
and
Oshtemo
That was an
resident?
Oshtemo residence.
57?
57 cases,
For how much?
roughly $350,000. Yeah, I had to put together a long spreadsheet to give to the postal inspector to get
How
that.
are they stealing them from the big box? They have.
The arrow key.
Oh, because
They created it.
I thought we were talking about. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
came as a
They can either
surprise to
do,
me.
there's been phishing mechanisms before where they can try to have something, but the chances of getting a personal check are really low. You really have to, but when you can have that key, you can file through and find the ones that look like they're for paying bills.
I was kind of surprised that those boxes aren't under video surveillance.
I was too. When I went to the post offices and tried to get all the video, they were like, well, we don't have one out there. They had them all over their employees, which is also good, but nothing out there. So, we did have any other questions on that one? Okay, we did have the one unfortunate homicide that occurred at Canterbury Apartments. That was on the 30th of May. I was working, and happened during the day shift. I can't maybe give all the details. That is still, I'm working with prosecutors. There's still witnesses out there, so a lot of information, if I let that out, could be detrimental to what I'm doing. But I will have you know that the suspect is in custody, and it's just a matter of getting a lengthy case together to the prosecutor to authorize. And he's going to be in custody for a little bit. Hi, Cooper. So that is an update in case you were wondering, is he even out? Is he running around in the streets still? Is the gun out there? No. So any questions that you think I can answer? And it's okay if you have a question and if I can't answer it,
I had a question, I guess, and it's more just from my observations as a resident that likes to read the newspaper, whatnot.
Yeah.
This summer in particular feels like it has anecdotally been one of the more violent summers in Oshtemo. The data that we've kind of looked at here maybe isn't telling that story. So I guess from my perspective as an observer in the community, I want to ask, what I'm feeling, is that realistic? Is that accurate?
We started off the summer with that same feeling, and and I can tell you why, but it's amazing. I was talking to somebody else right before I came over here. When you get the right people in custody, the numbers will go down. It's not the narrative, the whole, and a lot of the news articles that you may or may not have read, there was some in Oshtemo, but definitely city had their fair share of some of the violent incidents, and so did township. So we all were sharing in this.
Specifically,
Oshtemo, we had another shots fired call where no one was struck. We had 2 of those, and then we also had a shooting, and then the subject was in good condition. And I can say the update on that one is the victim is completely uncooperative, doesn't want to press charges, doesn't want the police involved, which makes it very difficult to move.
In that case, it was a domestic situation, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is I want some insight into what it is that you guys on the police side are seeing. Are these just random acts of violence in a country full of weapons, or is this
A lot
is
of
this
what,
organized beef between
Yes.
groups of people?
Yes.
And if that's the case, what the heck's the plan, man?
yeah, so the plan is, it's a layered plan.
Okay.
And a lot of times, it's not just what the police can do. We can only do so much. I like to say it's a three-pronged approach. There's a police, there's a prosecutor, and then there's a judge. And when people are getting taken off the street for owning a gun, having a gun, and they're back out 2 weeks later,
Understood.
our plan gets shot in the foot. So they are training officers to spot people that look like they're carrying, to spot, so, because we want to prevent it. We want to take the guns out before
Right.
a shooting happens. However, the charging, especially juvenile laws, are way different than adult laws. And so
So-
it's been a struggle for
From
that.
your perspective, would you say that you feel that the sheriff's department, particularly here in Oshtemo Township as it's operating, is trying to charge these crimes, and what you're seeing is that the charges that you guys are bringing are not being, they're not being prosecuted? Is that the
Or-
fundamental problem?
Or they're either been not or prosecution or possibly not the sentence that we would like.
Okay. All right. I guess I want to figure out, maybe at some, put this down for the board retreat, is how do we take this information from the police and utilize it in a way that makes sense for this board? Whether that's politically with our neighbors, obviously the prosecutor serves this entire county. But we need to talk about this holistically, all the approaches. But I don't want to live in a community that's going to be this violent, this regularly.
And that's-
in these concentrated areas.
That's the narrative of the neighborhoods. When I go out and interview people and talk to witnesses, they're in your same boat.
Yeah.
They're sick of it. They're like, why is this not?
And if it's the landlords aren't doing what they're supposed to do to keep trouble out, then we got to come down there. What's the answer? Let's find it. I don't want to sit here and point the finger at the sheriff department. I don't, we got to do something better by the folks living over there.
You are heard, and I don't disagree. And we definitely talk between ordinance enforcement, legal, myself, other departments as it's relevant, particularly around, if these are rental properties, are we holding the right people accountable? So, but I wrote your note down on this. I just want to remind this body that our two CPOs and
Yeah.
detective have only been in place since January.
For sure.
So,
No, this isn't
I
no
know.
criticism.
Yeah.
It's no
I know.
criticism. I'm
100%.
trying to find information. I want to understand.
Your voice is not alone. And I've been to other meetings, and so I'm ready for that.
Okay. I appreciate the information. Thank you.
Yep, and I know Deputy White has done a great job in just pounding the pavement at these apartment complexes. Canterbury, and maybe I don't know if you want to tell me any more, but I know they laid a dollar short, right? But they still did it. They took responsibility after that happened. Obviously, they were taking heat from the residents as well. They have installed a state-of-the-art camera system with shot detection and what else, anything else on that?
All new lighting, and they're also installing another, so that the flock system in there also.
Oh, yeah, they even put flock cameras. If you're not familiar with flock, they're camera systems that are on intersections that can only be seen by local PD there, that capture license plates on a 24/7 basis. So if we need to get a plate of a vehicle or chasing a suspect, we can get real time as they're traveling through these intersections. Now, Canterbury being private property would have to agree, and it's rare to get a private property to agree to put a flock camera in there, and they have agreed to put a flock
they're
camera.
worried about liability.
For sure.
Bingo.
I have one more question on
Yeah,
that
go
topic,
ahead.
if I may. So one final question regarding the violent crime stuff that we've seen, particularly this summer. Has it been found that the perpetrators of those crimes are actual residents that were supposed to be where they were when these crimes allegedly occurred, or are they more often than not being committed by folks coming into the community?
In the ones that I referenced, and anyone that I can think of this summer, they have not been residents. I've had a couple victims, the ones, obviously, when shots are fired and no one was hit, like, anyone who lived in that place is technically a victim if they had shots fired near their residence, but yeah, but no.
The perpetrators tend to be out from the outside, not
Correct,
necessarily residents.
correct, or staying there when they're not supposed to be, if you could put it that way.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
All right.
So I have a question on that
Thank you.
too. So has the sheriff's department, I don't even know if you guys do this, the city police do. They have the program, and I forget what it's called, but where they have live, the ability to live review the video that is out on the property.
Yeah.
And obviously the property
Yeah,
owners.
I know what you're, yeah, I
And-
know.
and it goes right into the
Interfaith has
dispatch
that,
center.
yep, I know they have a couple that do that. We have, I can't think of one that the county has. We have mentioned it to them, but in my experience, businesses are pretty reluctant to do that. Did Canterbury, did,
Canterbury is installing not just the block, they are installing radio surveillance system that we're gonna have access to.
Excellent,
That's great news.
Is also doing that.
excellent. Because
There you go.
I recall Interfaith Apartments, when I worked
Yep.
for the city, they did that, and that was well over a decade ago.
They still
And that
have
was
it.
huge. I mean, we had real-time suspect
Yeah.
on video that we could see, and the dispatchers could give that direction of travel and description out.
yeah, a
and
lot of times you can see the actual,
hugely
if a crime occurs, they can see it in real
so-
time.
Yeah, so it's their equipment, their video equipment, but they're allowing us access to it in real time. Awesome. Awesome.
Hopefully that'll take off too, to spread to the other ones, once they see success in it. Any other questions? Okay.
Yeah, around the idea of, we have our CPOs out there, and I'm, acknowledging it's only been 7.5 months, right? But I'm interested if there's a plan to do some kind of organized neighborhood watch, in some of these areas of the community, like residents taking ownership of their own
Yeah.
communities. And I just, I think about the city, and they've got Stewart and Edison and, Northside, and, I mean, so there are residents of those neighborhoods that take real ownership on those communities, and I feel like that is lacking here in Oshtemo.
Yeah, this was years ago, I think I was at one neighborhood watch meeting, and the way, in my experience from my 20-some-odd years in police work, neighborhood watches have always, they've always began with the neighborhood themselves organizing them. The sheriffs or the police have not set them up from the sheriff's office, but we will provide training, we will provide speakers to them, give them advice on how to best do it safely, but I don't know of any organization or programs that the sheriff's office has as like we will start the neighborhood watch, because it needs to have a group of people that are willing to do it.
Right, I mean, I don't disagree. Right, you should be leading the charge, but I think what is perhaps unknown to communities is you are a resource to them if they wish to organize.
Yeah.
So,
That's
I
true.
mean, that's another thing we can put on our list for, I mean,
Yeah.
I won't post it tomorrow to social media. We should build some momentum around it, but it is one thing that we do have characteristic
Yeah.
areas of the community, and this is back to Trustee Chapman's idea of like identity, and it just seems like we could help create some momentum and identity around areas of the township that, it would be supportive for them.
Yeah, and let's work together on like what we can provide. I'm more than happy to meet with you, or we can talk.
Yeah.
And
No,
giving you
I
what.
know, it's a big problem, and
No, you guys are brainstorming. I love it. Yeah. And that kind of leads to that last one. I also have been finding time to get to, and this is just word of mouth. I haven't put anything out. just presentations to different businesses, churches, groups, neighborhoods on, and this isn't just myself, I know we have a team that does this with frauds as well. I don't do the fraud one, we have a fraud a guy that used to do that on a regular basis. So I know in the last quarter, I think I've done 6, and I know that the fraud guys have at least done 2 or 3, so we're trying to it's a good way to meet the community, to make connections, and it leads to good conversation, even if it starts with a safety presentation or a fraud presentation, so.
Yeah, I think it's Captain Baker?
You nailed it.
Okay. So I saw Captain Baker here when he met with a group of residents on the fraud presentation. It was very well attended.
Yeah, and maybe
was
that's
great.
something that would be beneficial to advertise as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's all I have, guys. So, any other Sheriff's Department questions? Okay. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you, Detective.
You know it.
All right. Good questions, good information. Thank you, John. Oh, you know what? I wanted to I'm so sorry. Claire is on the line. Our Treasurer Bushka, did you have any?
Rich has it. He's got it.
I don't. It's just nice to see crime numbers going down.
Right direction, right? Okay, next on our agenda, before you have a resolution recognizing Rabbit Angels Rescue as a nonprofit organization for the purpose of obtaining a game license. Attorney Porter, would you mind describing why this is in front of the board?
Yeah, a nonprofit is authorized from the Charitable Gaming Division for the state of Michigan to have basically a charitable gaming license, but it has to be authorized by the local community. You have the request here from Rabbit Angels Rabbit Rescue, and they're dedicated team of volunteers, and they help domestic rabbits that may otherwise be in danger or abandoned, and they want to hold a raffle. And so to do that, there's a stock resolution that would be filled out if the board approves it. And so that's, I believe, on page 19 of your packet. This is the standard resolution that we would complete if you want to move that. Basically, it would simply state that at this meeting tonight, it was moved and supported to grant the request. We'll complete all of this if you decide to move that forward and send it to the state.
And I think Clerk Farmer told me this is not, like, we've seen these before.
Yes, we've approved a number of these in the past.
Okay.
One time we had to do it for a bingo
Yeah.
situation.
Yep.
They got a fantastic website. Just want to put that out there.
Okay.
And
I
they
think-
won't, I'm assured, just reading about this organization, they won't be donating any of their animals to the zoo in Denmark.
Okay.
That's good.
I guess I have to look for that article on
Right.
Google.
So
All right,
those are
before
only- Those are only animals that are near death
Oh,
in Denmark.
okay.
They're saying if your pet is about to expire, or they're not just saying people donate it to the zoo. Just want to clarify that, nobody gets the wrong impression. This is very strict information.
The article I read didn't have that clarification.
Oh,
It just
yes,
said that
they
they
did.
were asking for people's pets to feed to their zoo
my.
animals.
All right, before we move into further board deliberation, is there anyone here from the public wishing to speak on this resolution? Is the applicant with us this evening? Please, if you want to come forward and introduce yourself and just talk about your project a little bit.
My name is Suzanne Bennett. The rescue was actually at my residence. Oops, excuse me. We are doing like raffles and whatnot, and we were told we needed this license if the item is over $500. And so that's what started this whole process.
What's the item?
It is a Switch 2.
Sweet. How long have you been running the rescue?
I started in 2022,
Okay.
but the rescue's been around, I believe, since 2018, and it's just slowly growing.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No, but I also looked at your website and I had no idea it existed. I've got 3 rescue kitties, so I'm an animal lover. I'm glad to hear that.
You never knew there was a
Actually,
need,
I
and,
had a rabbit too when I was in college.
yep,
It didn't last long, but we.
That's
gave it
how
to
we
a
all
family.
learn.
But I like that you're also trying to educate people.
Absolutely.
that Not to do what we did, was walk in and go, oh, we need this bunny, and not have any clue what we were getting into. So,
thank you,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Is there any other public wishing to make comment on this item? Any hands raised online? No hands raised online. We'll close opportunity for public comment. You have this resolution before you. I'd welcome any board deliberation on this, or if someone was so inclined, a motion for this resolution.
I move to adopt a resolution recognizing Rabbit Angels Rescue as a nonprofit organization operating in Oshtemo Charter Township for purposes of obtaining a charitable gaming license.
second.
A motion by trustee Ford, a second by trustee Cole. This is a resolution. Clerk, would you please read the roll?
Yes, trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Cole?
Yes.
Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
And Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 7-0.
All right, thank you. Good luck. Hope you have a successful event.
We'll process that promptly.
Oh, thank you. That's right. That will probably have to come, that will have to come from us to them.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And we have contact information, so that should be, okay. Thank you for that. Next, we'll move to item 12, which is some budget amendments. The first before you is from Public Works.
Could I just request, would you mind if we moved all of the public works at once and then all of the fire at once? If the board is so inclined.
Do you want to, you
I'm
mean move the,
amenable.
oh, hold on a
I'm
second.
good with that too.
Hold on. Do you want to move them together as one item? Do you want to just go over
We could
both?
do it that way too.
I guess I want to clarify what you're asking.
I've written out 2 separate motions, one for public works and one for fire department.
Okay. No, I mean,
She's already written the future. She's trying to
no, I wasn't planning to do each of these. Well, I mean, if a member of this board wished to pull or talk about these and do them separately, I mean, we would have to do that, but we can definitely
Okay.
go through them. So I wanted to just first cover what they are. So there's a budget amendment necessary to support GIS services, since we are, that position is currently still open, and we are utilizing consulting to fill that in. It's working just fine right now, but we do need to move funds from the salary line to the professional fee lines in order to maintain that service. Hold on just a second. GPS shipping.
Might not be here.
All right, Anna, do you want to help me?
Yeah, yep.
I'm flailing here.
No, you got it. The first one, great. Yep, we're just trying to extend the solution we came up with for the GIS services. The GPS unit shipping costs, I think they were like $17 and some cents over the estimate, but I told Zach to round it up to $25.
There it is. Okay, now I see.
Yep, and then the last one is for the HARC, the Hardship Advisory Review Committee. We have 2 applications that have come in through working with legal and the mandatory connections. And so we are trying to convene that group for one time this year and want to have the funds available based on the estimates that we've gotten for some of the recent mandatory connections. We feel confident that this is plenty of funds for those 2 and any that might come in. So As a reminder to the board, when that was initially set up, it had allocated 3 years of $300,000 each year to fund that revolving fund, and Public Works is tracking towards that total $900,000 amount. So anyway, this is just another installment of that process for this year.
And so the reason that GL line was not funded in 2025 is because when we approved the budget at the end of 2024, when the USDA bonds for the sewer project were going to be signed were uncertain, so we didn't put any funds in the HARC GL. And now that the USDA project is moved forward, it's an appropriate time to fund that line. And so I didn't want the HARC committee I felt appropriate that it would be, they need the money to move forward so that they can evaluate these applications. So, any questions on any of these items? Okay.
So are there 3 for Public Works?
Yep. But I am going to open it up for public comment too.
First?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make the motion when you're done.
Okay. So at this time, on the budget amendment for Public Works, I'd take this time to open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here wishing to make public comment regarding the budget amendments for Public Works? Seeing none here with us at Township Hall, any hands raised online? There are not. I will close the opportunity for public comment on this budget amendment, and we can go into board deliberation, and if the board is ready, we'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the 3 budget amendments for Public Works as listed in our packet.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Sikora and a second by trustee Ford. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion on the motion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next before you, you have a budget amendment from the fire department, vehicle operations. Let me scroll down to that.
You came up to talk about this $800? Okay.
So what we're asking for in this amendment is, we have some of the small vehicles, primarily the take-home vehicles, 4 of them, not our first-line emergency response vehicles, are using Rick and Stan's car wash to help, especially during the winter with the undersprays. So I'm asking to move $800 from our fuel line, which is healthy, into that line to help pay for the rest of the year for the Rick and Stan's car wash.
All right.
I'll let Deputy Chief speak on the next portion.
Yep, very good. So, the fire department also has a budget amendment for forcible entry door prop purchase.
Yeah, so this is a training prop. We currently own one. However, it's old and worn out. And unfortunately, we had budgeted to send some of our people to several different training events, and either they were unable to go or the training event was canceled. So we have extra money in our continuing education line item, and we want to move it to our training equipment line item and replace our current force entry door. The current force entry door we have, although it did a phenomenal job, it was fabricated by a local firefighter who had welding skills. Found a thing online, built it for us, and we've used it, I think, for 8 years now. And considering how we force entry into a building and the fact that it held up for 8 years is pretty remarkable. Now we're going to a different vendor because he just doesn't want to do that anymore. It was a lot of work on his part. And we're going to upgrade and purchase a new force entry prop.
Thank you.
So you don't use this at an actual fire?
No, Nope, this is a training prop we use to train our people how to bypass locks when a door is locked,
Okay,
how to get into the house.
okay.
Which is almost always needed, right? I looked it up too. I
So-
looked up the website. It looks like it's.
just- I
needed.
guess-
Can we wait for acknowledgement?
I just asked a question. And
I know. Can you wait for acknowledgement from the chair before we move forward to comments?
Yep.
Thanks. So trustee Cole, were you
Sorry,
finished?
because I kind of jumped in there too. I was just, I guess, piggybacking on yours. But I was going to say I did look the website up of the one that you guys are looking at, Firehouse Innovations. And it looks really, I mean, it looks like it'll last a long time. It's made out of steel and it's got a lot of variables and different door swings and.
Has more training options and the durability will be, it'll far exceed what we have now. Again, not to put down the person who fabricated our original one, it just wasn't, it's not to that quality.
No, in fact,
Well, it
with
still
this.
lasted 8 years, sorry.
Yeah, no, and I wondered if, I mean, this $15,000 is not cheap, but again, it's something that I think I trust you guys know what you need. But I thought maybe we would have other, firefighters in the area even coming to use the equipment. I don't know if that, to learn, or,
Yes, as a matter of fact, just yesterday, was it yesterday, training at the house? Just yesterday, we trained in conjunction with Kalamazoo City and Texas Township Fire Departments, and we did use our current 4th-century door in that training. It is being held together by hopes and prayers, but it did the job we needed it to do for the training evolution. But we try on a quarterly basis to integrate mutual aid partners in a training evolution that we are doing locally here. And it just happened that yesterday was the one.
that's good.
Trustee Ford?
I don't understand why we're taking 15,000 out of education to buy a prop tool training device.
It is education. I'm sorry.
I just
guess
don't
I'll let you
understand.
answer.
So next year, they're not going to go to conferences? They are? Okay. So what are we doing? It doesn't make any sense to me. We got 15,000 that we wanted to do continuing education. We're going to buy a $15,000 training tool, I guess? I don't understand. If they're going to go to conferences next year, let's do that. If they need a new training tool, put it in the budget. I don't understand why conferences got canceled, so now let's go buy a thing. That's what this feels like, and I don't appreciate that piece of this. It's not that the tool itself isn't useful or valuable. It's just your conferences got canceled. That money should just go back to your fund. We'll reallocate it. I don't appreciate this kind of a budget amendment.
We can absolutely do that, and the only outcome will be we'll wait several months for the training prop. We can afford to purchase it in 2026. We have the money available now because those got, so our thought process was, why wait till next year? We have an unexpected surplus in funds, so why wait?
And I feel like it's training that is essential training. I mean, we're talking seconds saving lives of breaching a door to get into a house that's on fire, potentially with people in it. I don't think it can be undervalued. I think it's,
If it was so important, why wasn't it in their budget to
They're
buy for
still
this year? They got this
using-
20-year-old tool.
right.
I'm just saying, it's, to me, the answer is no.
I just
Your
think the
your
opportunity
conferences
is
got
there to
canceled, I'm
move the
sorry,
money.
you're not
Why
buying a
not
new
move
tool.
it and then, versus waiting until 2026? I mean, the money's there, it's available.
Yeah, we didn't need it last November. Our 4th-century door was working fine last November when we made the budget.
Well, and not only that, is our current, the one that this gentleman built, does it even have the different types of door swings, or, you know what I mean?
No,
This seems to
yep.
me like it is more encompassing, is that the word, all-encompassing? For a lot of different types of scenarios, of different types of doors you guys would encounter versus, I don't know how many you've got on that one, but.
2. Yep, there are 2 scenarios you can do with our current one. This one, it was 15 or something. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but yes. It was designed for, our current one, designed for inward and outward swinging 4th century.
So as a reminder, we're not in board deliberation yet. Does any other
I'm
board
sorry.
members have comments or questions regarding this budget amendment for the deputy chief? Trustee Chapman?
Yes, do the other departments, such as the departments you worked with yesterday, have the same equipment?
I can definitely say yes to Portage. The city kind of, they have a tower, the training tower, the live burn tower has a built-in 4th-century door. I don't know that they have a standalone one like the one we're proposing. Texas does not. They have something like we have now, something somebody fabricated for them, but not to this standard. Alamo does not. And I can't speak to the other fire departments with any confidence.
Clerk Farmer?
I just want to comment on the process that we're going through right now with this budget amendment. The process itself is following the purchasing policy to a T. And I just want to remind this board that this is that time of year where when they identify a purchase that wasn't previously budgeted, we want them to look within their budget to find those dollars to pay for it rather than taking it from savings. This is the time of year where we're in the second half of the year that should be our expectation of them, and our purchasing policy lays it out that way as well. So regardless if a board member agrees with the actual purchase, the process is what we've asked them. They're doing, yeah.
Any
That's all. I don't
other?
have any questions.
Okay. Treasurer Bushka, do you have any questions for the deputy chief?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Deputy Chief. This time, we will take the opportunity for public comment on the fire department budget amendments. Do we have anyone here in the public wishing to make any comments on these budget amendments? Seeing none here with us at Township Hall, do we have any hands raised online? We do not. I will close the opportunity for public comment, and we will move into board deliberation. So we do have two budget amendments from the fire department. Do we have any board members wishing to move these items separately, or is there any, I guess I can open up the conversation. I just want to remind people that that's an option, that we don't, these can be done as two separate motions.
I don't have any problem doing them together, especially since the clerk probably already wrote that.
I'm just rewriting it now. Trying to
No,
guess.
seriously. I don't have any problem putting them together, and I don't actually have any issue with, I do have an issue with the lights blinking. I don't have any issue with either of the requests. I would say, though,
I just want you all to know our generator got fixed today.
oh, thank you.
I can see that. I can see it clearly.
I've been watching my phone to see if my generator kicks on for some reason, and too, you know. But I would say, though, don't come back in the next couple of months and ask for continuing education money. I mean, just that's not going to go over very well, this. But I would support both of them, and I would make a motion to approve them unless someone else wants to have a comment, want to split them or whatever.
Yeah, my only comment is I support one, not the other, so I don't mind if you move them together or not. It's up to you, whoever makes the motion, I suppose.
I mean, any other comments from trustees regarding these items? I mean, what's on the table right now is, we could run them together, or we could run them independently. I think two of the members have shared with you where they're at. I would entertain a motion either direction, but I don't want to lose the opportunity if anybody else has something to say.
Felt like we were in consensus to move them together at least. So if nobody is opposed to that, I would make a motion. Do I have to read both of these fully?
No, you can just do it for the budget amendments as outlined in the memo.
Thank you. I would make a motion to approve the budget amendments related to fire as outlined in the memos.
Support.
Motion by trustee Cole, support by trustee Sikora. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
And Treasurer Bushka?
Aye.
And so the motion carries 6 yeas when 1 nay. I think the, trustee Sikora, I liked the, we do need to remember when we move this stuff around for one thing or another that don't come back to the well again. So, yeah. Anyway, there you go. Thank you. So next we have item 13, which is discussion and consideration of Local 524 of the International Association of Firefighters Collective Bargaining Agreement. We do have our HR Director, Sarah Feaster. I'm sorry, I'm getting.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. Here to, here to present this item for you. This was my first opportunity to participate in a collective bargaining agreement. But I'm going to let Sarah walk through this with you. You've had it, I feel, ample time to review the agreement, so I hope if you have questions, now would be the time.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. I apologize, I'm a little congested, so if I'm doing a lot of mouth breathing, that would be why. So before you, you have the red line and the clean copy of the proposed 2026 through 2028 CBA for the local 5420 union. This current CBA is set to expire at the end of this year. So we go into negotiations to prepare for the new contract for next year. The last time we negotiated was 2022, so it's every 3 years. We began our negotiations mid-May 2025, and we concluded July 1st. You can see there the groups that were at the table during negotiations. I think we met a total as a whole unit 5 to 6 times for negotiations, and a number of internal meetings also took place with the township side and then the union group as well. So again, before you have the proposed contract. I hope you've had an opportunity to review it, and I'd be able to take any questions that you might have, clarification or feedback.
My only feedback is that this is the first time that this agreement has been brought to the board in this way, and I really like it. I mean, we all love the red line versus the final product, but we didn't even see the full agreement before. This is the first time, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a conversation with Attorney Porter, I believe, about this, and it should be shared publicly, so I'm kind of.
A lot of municipalities have their union contracts published on their websites, and we do as well, so.
I do have another question. Can you identify anything in this CBA that could carry over to our employee handbook at some point?
That's an interesting question. So where the union contract falls silent, the handbook then speaks to the policy. And we have done our best to mirror the handbook as much as possible through this contract. So some of it is in our employee handbook and doesn't necessarily need to be in the CBA. However, the union does prefer to preserve current processes. So sometimes they want things in the contract, even though it's in the handbook, because we can modify the handbook. It's harder to modify the CBA. So, but where the handbook has a policy and the CBA, more often than not, it's the same policy.
Well, so specifically, we have the per diem,
Yes. Yep.
and I see that the per diem for meals will be a minimum of $75.
Yes.
So
I'm
that
glad
is
you
a
brought
big
that up.
change.
Yes, that is a change. That's a change from, and the reason that that is now in this contract is because that is a change from our purchasing policy. And that was a request from the union, that the minimum of the per diem stipend was the $75, as opposed to using the GSA rate, which is, what is it, general services account?
Well, from the IRS though, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
From the IRS, per city. It guides you the appropriate amount of money to spend per day on meals, lodging, so on and so forth.
so that will still be applicable to everyone who is non-fire staff,
Correct. Non-union staff.
Although.
or non-union staff. yeah.
It
Yes.
would be, I mean, so we did have a good I mean, first of all, I believe it's a reasonable amount. It's only, I think the daily rate, I mean, it depends on where you go, but it was around $67, $68 if you were doing all 3 meals or something. So it really just does, it was an attempt to kind of recognize the rising costs in general. And absolutely, this would be something that I would be looking for support in the policy for all staff
Okay.
to have that. I mean, it's a small increase.
Well, then that was
Overall.
specifically what I was thinking of when I said, is there anything that would carry over to the,
Yep.
to the handbook?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Another one then, probably along the same lines, was you have the pay time off for immediate family members, but there's the addition of any family member.
Bereavement, is that where you're?
Yes.
bereavement? Okay, let me scroll to that section here. So what we did was we modified, so we changed the handbook policy when we redid the handbook a couple of years ago, kind of cleaned it up a little bit. That never came to the contract. So what we did with this here is mirrored the language in the handbook. That's the change to the bereavement. And then we changed it from funeral to bereavement leave to align. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Since this is the first time I've seen this too. So who is in the union versus non-union? So like the 3 people sitting here?
Yep.
Are,
Great question. So in the union is line firefighters, captains, line captains and staff captains, which includes 18 shift firefighters. There's 3 different shifts. There's 3 at each station, so 6 people on one shift, 3 at station 1, 3 at station 2, including 1 captain at each station, so that's 18 line firefighters that work 48 on and 96 off, rotating schedule. We have 2 full-time staff captains, our captain of community risk reduction, and then the training and safety captain. They work Monday to Friday. And then we have our assistant chief fire marshal, who's also unionized. So that's 21 bargaining unit members.
So to answer your question, union, non-union, non-union.
Yeah.
okay, good. My other question, I don't know if it would be in here or somewhere else. I can only call it like a bit of a beef that I have. Being involved with parks and planning and events, I frequently will ask the fire department through the chief to send a representative, a truck, whatever, some people to one of our events. So like we had 2 music in the park events, 98 degrees, 90% humidity, whatever. Would have been nice to have a fire department vehicle people there. Now, what I hear is, well, they don't work on Sundays, and I'll ask if anybody wants to do it. I don't like that part of it, but, and I think it would be perfectly fine if we paid them to come to our event, if they need to be there, but understanding that they also need to leave if there's a a call. But it would have been nice to have seen some presence at all these different things. I've asked, the Parks Director has asked, we just don't see that as a regular community involvement. And from my perspective, and, there's people at these events, is that something that it would be in this to more stress that, or is that something that's done outside of the contract? Because there's public outreach and things that I think I read in here.
Yep. It is in the contract, duty hours. So their working hours are Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is when the chiefs, and step in if I speak wrong, they can assign tasks to them during those times. Those are their duty hours. Outside of those hours, and that includes Saturday from till 2, from 8 to 2. Outside of those hours are not duty hours, so they can't be assigned tasks. They're just responding to calls when they come in. So that's in the contract, that we can't require them to go to an event on a Sunday, for example, like you said.
So obviously, I think that that's for community relations, since we're paying them to represent us and do us. And I don't know whether it's something for a contract, and I'm not gonna hold up a contract or anything like that. But I don't understand why they can't work on a weekend, even if we pay them to come to an event.
No, they most certainly can. I think it's been negotiated that they can't.
Okay.
So I think what you're saying and what I'm going to add here is
Okay.
I'd like you to negotiate that they work on Saturday and Sunday for community events at the request of the township.
And we did talk about that during negotiations too.
Right. I read it in here, and it's pretty weak sauce, is what I think Trustee Sikora is kind of
Yeah.
getting at.
Nothing changed, really. It more or less just put it on the table that it's their discretion.
That's where the problem, I
Yeah.
think, is for these two board members, is we're letting the workers decide what work they're going to do. And the
Yeah.
township has an interest in having them visible and present within the community on its timeline. And I think we need to make sure we are having alignment about where direction is set and how that order is followed, I suppose. But this doesn't kind of mesh with what Trustee Sikora and myself are looking for with respect to the visibility of the fire department within the community.
I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
no,
to-
that was perfect, much better than I was saying it. I appreciate that.
So I just want to also mention, like I said, I understand what you're saying. Nothing changed in this contract. That's been in place since they ratified the contract in 2020.
Right. and
Those
I'm
duty hours,
saying,
yeah.
That's not acceptable.
Okay.
I don't find it acceptable.
Okay.
That part of it.
But there was a red line, was
Yep.
there not a red line regarding community events in here?
The red line simply said, whenever possible, we're going to hold community events during your duty hours so you can attend them, or you can be directed to attend to them.
Okay, so that's how that read, because when I read that, it said some, I thought I saw that the firefighters were to say, if they didn't have some other responsibilities to do, that they would attend. And that was even
Hold on, I'm going back
less
to it.
strong in the terms from.
We had a lot of conversation around this, actually. What does it say? Yeah. So whenever possible, public education and community risk event reduction events shall be held during normal business hours and led by the community risk reduction team. Line personnel will make themselves available whenever possible if emergency calls or other priorities of work don't hinder their responsibilities. Yeah, so essentially that sentence says, if you don't have an emergency situation during these business hours, then
Or
you
some
should
other
be
work
available.
responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So what does that
Yeah.
mean? What if my responsibility is washing the truck? Does that mean I can't come to a community event today? Like,
That's gonna-
That's where I'm saying we gotta have some better language in here.
Okay, all right, yep, understood.
Yeah, and we're certainly not gonna change music in the park Sunday evenings to,
Yeah.
during Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, whatever the hours are.
Yep.
I mean, that's gonna be, we're actually talking about moving it back half hour to 6:30 rather than 6 o'clock because of the time of the day and where the sun is and how the trees are in the park.
Yeah.
But, so it's not ever gonna be in the middle of the day, regular work hours. How do I get people in the fire department to be there for an event? I mean, it seems really obvious to me. Obviously, I'm quite frustrated by it because it's been going on for a couple of years. But it just seems like, okay, all these people are coming to an event and they're paying all your salaries and everything, but you can't show up, you know? Even if we pay you to show up, you can't show up, you know? I'm not comfortable with that, what we have here.
So there was a lot of conversation around this, and I think what the board members that attend events don't see or don't hear about is the number of community events that the fire department does participate in. And I don't remember the number, it's significant. I'm looking at the deputy chief who's staring at me. I'm trying, we talked about this during negotiations, so it is not that our fire department isn't going out and doing touch-a-truck events and other community outreach events. So, do you have that number of community events?
Not off the top of my head, I'm
It
sorry.
was a lot.
Yep, so just to clarify the point, the union has always been very good at working with us around, so let me back up. To Sarah's point, this is not a change to the contract. This is the same. We put the red line in there, or the red line you see in there, I'm sorry, was, and actually during negotiations, I was saying the exact same thing you were saying now. I want our firefighters to be out there in the public when the public is there. One of the other things we have to consider is when they are doing these public events, how many calls for service have they been on? Have they been up all night? That kind of thing. So the working hours is very common language throughout contracts across the nation. And in fact, some, depending on where you go, they don't work at all on Saturday, on Saturdays. Some don't work at all on Sundays, like ours. So the other thing is, when there is an event on a non-working hour or on a Sunday, like Chief said, we say, hey, there is this event. It'd be great if you could make it. We can't order them to make it per the contract because it's outside of their working hours.
So you, twice now, both of you have said this is the same as in the current contract? And what my point is that's not acceptable.
Okay.
Okay, for starters, okay?
Yep.
So please stop saying it's the same as the current contract, because I'm saying that's not workable. Now, having things and you know, I appreciate the supervisor's comment that there's a long list of things you go to as community events.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine something, I'm sorry, because I don't know the list, I can't imagine something more important than supporting a community event that the township is putting on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not, maybe my imagination isn't good enough, but why that isn't like number one thing. The people who are paying my salary are having an event here. The township is paying money to put on this event, but that's not important enough for the fire department to show up. You know, I'm just kind of like scratching my head. I don't get it, and maybe there's more information that I need to get to understand that. But I'm just totally baffled, and I think this is just wrong. I just call it nothing else. I think it's wrong, and you should need to be able to say, okay, here's our list of events that we want to go to. We have concert in the park by the Parks Committee, all this township-sponsored thing run. These have to be at the top. You can go to these. If we can't get to these other ones, okay, we don't have enough personnel, but we have to at least get to these priorities. That's my soapbox.
And that's exactly what we do within the working hours. That's where our authority ends, the contract takes over.
And I'm saying that's not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to speak also just that one of the reasons you see that in this contract and many others is if they're out running 15 calls that day, when they get back, they want to eat, they want to relax, they want to rest, they want to shower. And it's like, no, you're going to go out here now and you're going to go to Flesher Field. We don't skip every one of them. They definitely make it when they can. We were at the last event.
Not our event.
We were at the National Night Out.
Not the Music in the Park, though.
Okay,
Either
well,
one.
we looked at it as an Oshtemo event, but yeah, it can get pretty difficult for them, and that's why these contracts have these things built into them. And it's not just an Oshtemo contract thing, but
And
I understand what you're saying
No,
also.
and I totally appreciate if they've been out, you know, and up for hours fighting a fire and they need to go and rest. I mean, I want them to come back and have an accident. I want them to do that. That's fine. I don't even get the commitment up front that we're gonna go to that event, but sorry, we couldn't get there because we had just been fighting a fire for 24 hours and we need a rest or whatever. I don't get the commitment up in the first place. I can understand that we can't do it afterwards.
I think that's absolutely valid, and that's a valid point, is you're making a decision internally about whether or not your staff is capable of doing that one next thing. And what's not happening is when you make that decision, is it doesn't roll back to me so that I can roll it back to Vanessa. So the ask goes out. Imagine how frustrating that feels, right? So the ask goes out, hey, listen, we'd love to have a fire truck, da-da-da-da-da. And you say, hey, listen, my guys, my team, I hate it when I do that, my team has, you know, they've been on 45 calls, nobody's had dinner, they need to get some rest. That is not coming back the other direction. So I think that definitely needs to change when you make that call. I'm not judging, or I want you to be the person that decides when the team can handle one more thing, you know, in addition to being ready, okay? So that communication loop needs to be closed. The other thing I'm thinking of is that, so in addition to, because remember, even on full staffing, even if we're fully staffed, both stations have a max of 4, right? If we're fully staffed. Do we offer, and this is a financial decision, but if participating in these events, do we offer the opportunity, for example, for paid on call to sign up for overtime to come do a community event for the township if our on-call team is overextended?
Yeah, every one of the events that we've been invited to, we have put up for overtime and out to the paid on call and the full-time, offering overtime to come to the events. It doesn't get filled. And then we hope that the crews are able to make it, especially in the after-hour ones, but.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem of paying people. I'm not saying, you know, come on your off day and take a truck out there or something.
Right.
I'm perfectly willing to, you know, hopefully find a way to pay people to be there if that's the need, if we have to do that. But that would also inform us, okay, as part of our planning for an event, we might have this cost for paying the fire department. But I never get that far because I don't get the response that, well, we don't work weekends for whatever reason, and so we never get that.
I can
turn back and say, well, maybe we can find a way to pay them if they're not able to come. And then, of course, the whole issue, if they've been working too much, no, we don't want them there anyway. That's not a discussion. It's more of if you want to get paid or you need to be paid, or that's how we need to get you there. I mean, it's all coming out of the taxpayer's pocketbook one way or the other, whether they're paying you or we're paying it out of the Parks Department budget or some other budget. How
I
can we
think
make it work?
I can do a better job at relaying back to you, but I can tell you now that every event that we have put out has been listed out for paid on call to take, for full-time to take, at overtime rates, to see if we can get them filled, because I don't know if the crews are going to be busy or doing whatever that are on shift.
But did I mishear you and you said that has been posted and it just does not get filled?
Correct, yep. So.
Wow.
So
Surprising.
I hesitate to bake into the contract. I'm wondering, is there a way that we can?
I think that the township and the administration should sit down and think about this ask and formulate a plan. It doesn't have to happen right here. I think it's pretty clear what the desired outcome is, but how to say it, how to negotiate it, that's something that you gotta do.
Sure.
in
That's
your
what I was gonna
office,
suggest.
okay?
I hear you, I totally understand, and we can take that away and have a discussion about that. Yep. Thank you.
I have a couple more questions, if I may, Supervisor,
Okay.
on a slightly different topic related to work.
All right, can we catch trustee Chapman?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you explain a little better the red line under article, oh, good God, Roman numerals, retirement?
Retirement.
Yeah.
What page are you on?
I am on page 32, or packet page 57, 32 of the contract. It's regarding the change in retirement by the end of.
Sure. This is, okay, which part? The percentage changes or the
No,
sentence at the end?
It's the end part, the
Yep.
change in the age.
Sure. So this was honestly quite a significant change to the contract this year. We had a lot of conversation around retirement benefits for these emergency services employees that are doing very physical jobs, and they can't do the job for as long as someone that's doing a less strenuous position can work. So we currently don't have any difference between retirement benefits with the fire department and the township staff. So that was, like I said, a lot of conversation was had around that. So at the end, what we agreed to do was build into our retirement policy that for these union firefighters, they'll have their full retirement benefits by the age of 50. So if they retire at the age of 50, they'll receive their full benefits.
With 20 years of service? Or is that not? And so
Well,
I don't know what the
yeah.
current is, and I didn't understand, because, I know many police, fire, and such, military, we do 20 years,
Yep.
and then we retire. But it's not necessarily linked to the age.
It is not. It's linked to the age. It's linked to the age 50. And the reason that we don't need to put, you have to have 20 and out is because it's not a pension. It's a deferred compensation plan. So therefore, it's township money's going in and employee money's going in. So it's not like a true pension where you have to have so many years of service to obtain it.
That clarified.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
May I ask a couple questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to understand now the working hours, the concept of a firefighter's working hours. First collective bargaining agreement, what did that look like versus now? Hasn't changed, right?
Yep.
Okay, so can you describe the working hours, what that means, what are they?
So when we say working hours, there are, I can't even do a rough count in my head. There are a lot of tasks that the chief or I can assign to our firefighters. And then there are.
How long's a shift?
48 hours.
A shift's 48 hours, okay. What are the working hours on a clock in a day? In a 24-hour day, what do you call working hours?
Is it 8 to 4, 8 to 5? 8 to 5. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So that makes sense to me as a board member. I'm a firefighter, I'm here for 48 hours, but from 8 to 5, I'm gonna do job stuff. And for 48 hours, I'm always gonna be responding, right? Now we get to Saturday and Sunday. Maybe that's my 48 hours. Well, lucky me, I guess. I don't have to do tasks after 2 p.m. and on Sunday I don't have to do any tasks?
Correct.
Please help me understand, as a concerned member of the community, why a line captain is getting a 36.5% step increase in this CBA over the next 3 years, while not being required to work after 2 p.m. on Saturdays or at all on Sundays. It feels like we have taken a decision as a board over the last, 10 years, to move towards a professional, full-time staffed fire department. With that, we got a firefighters union. With that, the cost of operating our fire department have gone up. So the expectations from my side are that we have an incredibly high-functioning, super professional firefighting force. When I hear that they don't work on the weekends and they're doing shift work, I'm frustrated. It's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. And we need that changed in this CBA. We don't have a concept of working hours that are different from Monday through Friday or Saturday and Sunday for shift workers. That's my position on this.
So logistically, we have the possibility of having 2 trustees who would vote no on this agreement based on that. What is the process for sending the contract back for renegotiation?
Sarah?
That's simply what it is.
So, I just want you to know, based on the comments, that I think hearing what those next steps would be is appropriate. So I don't want to put, well, anyway, doesn't matter what I think at this moment. Sarah, go ahead.
Sure. So we'll go back to the bargaining table, is what we'll do. We'll reopen negotiations, we'll renegotiate that item, based on your comments and feedback, and see what resolution we can reach. And
Well, if
I'm
the
not sure.
board decides to do that.
If
I'm
the-
not trying, in no offense, I'm.
Absolutely,
Right,
and
we
these are
understand
what I
this.
would like to see us talk further about, negotiate further. I'm not a part of the negotiating team, I don't get to be there. I'm saying that's what I would like to see this team do. Whether or not you actually do that, I don't know how we get you to do it. I think, don't we have to take a vote here and say we want you to go that direction?
Well,
But then again, now we're negotiating with ourselves in public, so this is not making a lot of sense.
No, so I think Sarah just told us what would, if we didn't have a motion regarding this contract, well, we could have a motion, but, I mean, it could go either way. We shouldn't assume one way or the other, quite frankly. We could table the issue, and you could ask the negotiating team to go back to the table with the comments from the board.
Well, I guess there's 2 trustees that have stated an interest in a direction for further negotiation.
Yep.
I guess, do we need to hear, can we hear from the other members of the board if they have, do they share that same desire for further negotiation? Are they happy with what we have? I mean,
If
it's
you
only
make a
2.
motion, you'll find out.
What's that?
I said if you make a motion,
I'm
you'll
not
find
gonna
out.
pass the bill to find out what's in the bill.
I mean, I feel like, if you're asking my opinion, I feel like Neil has a very valid point. I hate to tie up the agreement for something that, if there's an alternative. I mean, is it as simple as changing the day or having, I don't know, an agreement outside of this?
I will say that we are spending, or have spent, over almost $300,000 in a master plan to figure out how to have a sense of community. And I've been persuaded to think that this is renegotiable because or should be renegotiated because it is important. It's the entire reason we're here.
So in my
Somebody's online.
my view, I guess, if the contract is voted on to approve today, then we go back to the table to negotiate. Oh, gosh, sorry. Start over.
I want the board to have all the information before you make your final decision. If we go back to the negotiating table, it opens the entire contract up for negotiation. So I want to clarify something you said. I think you misspoke. We cannot go back and negotiate this thing. We go back to the drawing board, which I just want you to know that. So everything's on the table, wages, retirement, everything comes back. I want to emphasize the supervisor's point that our firefighters are out doing community events. The one particular one that we've mentioned tonight, they have not attended. I will concede that. But from my orders, from me, I can verify that our firefighters are not at the fire station during working hours. They are out doing inspections, or they are out doing public events, or they are out training. So I want you to have that information before you make your final decision, those 2 points.
And Sarah, are you able to?
I want to
give
just clarify, I'm sorry, trustee Cole, please.
Yeah, are you able to give an opinion as far as, I mean, you've been involved in the negotiations, what the chances of this, I guess, making headway and not tipping something else the other way, as was brought up. I mean, I guess I want to know what the risk level is of ending up not even with what we want,
Yeah.
but then maybe something worse.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is up for negotiations again.
That is all I will say, is that if we, if we want to take that to the table again to talk about, there's going to be some give and take. So it is, I don't want to say it's risky, but it certainly opens up the contract that we've already tentatively agreed on for changes in other places.
And that is my biggest concern, which is why I'm asking maybe if there's an alternative that we could come to some type of agreement, at least with, music in the park, and making some type of exception for that, because I do see Neil's point, and I agree with it. But I also understand that this isn't the fire department's not going to events. We know they are. We know they're out doing fire inspections, and they're not, sitting in the lazy boys, but, only when they need to after they've fought a fire, so.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that unless you simply have a motion to return to negotiations that would open the door to all the issues on the table.
I don't think we can make any changes.
Are negotiations officially over? Like,
No.
what does that mean?
They
This is
end
being
when you
presented to
approve
us.
the contract.
What's that?
They end when you approve the contract.
Correct.
Yeah.
So right now, we're taking our first look at this contract.
Yeah.
To me, this is the opening salvo. I'm not sure why folks are trying to get scared by having to reopen the negotiation. Like, come on. It's okay. Yeah, I promise it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do have another question, because in light of the conversation we're having, explain the duty officer program on the weekend, because
Sure.
if you.
Happy to.
If you can't assign them things to do on the weekend, why would we I just need more understanding of that one, because.
I'm gonna let
We're
DC.
gonna pay a $150 stipend for a staff officer, and I'm not a firefighter, so I don't understand that, but from what I was hearing, we can't have them do non-call work on weekends.
Correct. Unless it's in the contract.
Unless it's in the contract.
Yes.
So would we be paying a duty officer to help me understand what they would do with this new addition, the last part of the contract, the duty officer program?
So, to the best of our ability and our sanity, the chief and I are the duty officer. End of story. So there's only two of us. So if there's, if he wants to go on vacation for one weekend, we coordinate with each other. I cannot require Assistant Chief Wiley to take a Saturday, because that's outside of his duty hours. I cannot require Captain Delapia, our training officer, to be the duty officer so that both of us can go on vacation. So what this is, we put this in here to basically make the pool a little deeper, so that I can say, hey, Chief Wiley, I can't order you, but if you do, if you'd be kind enough to let the chief and I go on vacation together, there's a stipend for you. Because we are acknowledging that we are requiring you to be on call outside of when you would normally respond. Now, I'm going to put a caveat on that. The last two fires that we got dispatched to on a weekend and an evening, Assistant Chief Wiley was on scene for them. So they can still be there. What we're asking is, don't consume alcohol, don't leave more than 20 to 50 miles away from the border of the township, don't go on vacation, be here and able to respond. That's the duty officer's job.
That is also part of, we definitely had both the negotiation team and with the union, had a lot of conversations around this. And so my view, this, after hearing about how this structure was for the fire department, my view of this is that this is a step towards the building up of the leadership team in general, right? Like not hiring another deputy chief or whatever, but letting people lean in who want to take some leadership responsibility, acknowledging that with a stipend, and then providing some flexibility for the chief and the deputy chief, but also this being a building block to, you know, what is likely going to be an expanding fire department, as far as staffing goes. And stations. I mean, we have 3 stations, but Station 3 is Station 3. I mean, it's not actively staffed.
I did want to bring up 2 other points real quick. I think we will go back to the negotiating table, obviously, if that's what we're told to do. We have put a lot of time and effort into the contract that's in front of you. I wanted to point that out. I think that's where you see some of the apprehension from us. The business hours were a large part of that, or the working hours, I'm sorry. And to go after working hours, I cannot see the union, I'm not going to bargain from the podium.
I would stop. Just stop. What are we doing? Like,
Well,
why are we talking like this exactly?
I want you to have all the information. There is a mechanism that we have, we don't like using it, so let's say we pass this contract, and then we go to the union and say, we'd really like you to start attending these events. We have a memorandum of understanding that is signed between the union and the supervisor that says, it's not in the contract, but we will do this thing. It is very atypical to do that right in the middle of negotiations. But I wanted you to be aware that there is a mechanism to negotiate basically between contracts. So that is a possibility. Now, the union has to agree to it, and they might say, yes, we'll do that for this. But I just want you to know that there is a mechanism that exists.
There is, or you would put one in place?
There already is. We have memorandums of agreement that we signed during the last contract that are now in this contract. So we said, oh, you know what? You know, operationally, this, that, let's sign a memorandum of understanding so that both of us understand what's going on right now. And then during these negotiations, we took that memorandum of understanding and we put it in the contract, kind of solidifying it. So that mechanism already exists and we use it. The reason we don't like using it, we don't want it to get out of control, so we have 25 MOUs out there with it. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that was done in coming to this point with this contract. You know, maybe if a different person or input had been involved in that, or you know, these concerns that we have now might have come up in the discussion or a little more vocally or whatever, you know, I'm not saying me, I'm just saying that, you know, this is a real rub for a lot of us who volunteer and come to these events and stuff and wonder about, you know, where our taxes are going. So that, you know, maybe that would have had a little more push to it, and let's understand how this is coming across and can we come to an agreement with it. I don't know, I'm just saying I'm unhappy with that and that section with it. But I appreciate all the work that went, I'm not discounting any of that. That was great.
I'd just like to make sure you understand also that there was a lot of negotiation on that topic itself. So I don't want you to think as a board that we as a group just went, okay, whatever, move on. You know, we had a lot of discussion on that topic alone, so we
Meaning
definitely.
this would be a difficult fight.
I believe so.
That's,
And you know, we put a lot of effort into trying to get it to work. We just couldn't get anywhere.
But did he not just say that this could be handled under the memorandum? That
If
is
the
part of
union-
this,
Yep,
we
if the
approve
union would
this.
agree to it.
I
The
think-
whole thing with the,
2 different issues here.
Okay.
I think the first issue is prioritizing Oshtemo-sponsored events. So I see that as one issue. And then the second issue is the not having working hours on Saturdays and Sundays is the second major issue.
yep. And I think overall, when you look at the not working hours, what the intent behind that was not to keep them from having to be ordered to go to community events. It was from having a jerk of a chief come into the station at 8 PM and go, that truck is filthy out there, go wash it.
Sure.
You know, that was,
But your working hours might be 8 to 5, right? So then they could tell you to get lost, right? But right now, their Sunday work hours they're not doing anything other than responding, right? I think that's where the hangup is that there's an inequity there. If the person working that shift is doing 48 hours Saturday, Sunday, the guy that worked Thursday, Friday had a completely different work experience.
So can you speak to the rotation a little bit? So,
I mean, that's a part of it.
you
Yep.
know.
So there are definitely, the 4896, you will have somebody that falls on a Saturday, Sunday. And when I worked 24-hour shifts, yeah, that was my weekend to come into work. It was nice. It was a little more relaxing. I didn't have to worry about going out to do inspections and other things. But I think what the union, the whole reason they built that in wasn't to, it was protection from the jerk chief coming in and ordering them to do things more out of spite than anything.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think there's other ways to put those protections into a collective bargaining agreement. So I would like to see this concept of changed weekend work hours disappear.
Yep, and that is also something that if you decide to approve this contract tonight, we can work even harder on that at the next negotiations. If we can't get it in through an MOU, that could be, that could be our hill to die on in the next negotiations.
Or it could be your hill to die on this negotiation.
Yeah.
So I also want to add, I don't know how familiar anyone is with the negotiation process with a union. If you're not able to come to a resolution and make an agreement, there's methods in place to resolve that, and that's arbitration and mediation. And that involves bringing in a third party to basically, I believe mediation involves bringing in a third party and they facilitate the conversation, trying to get you to agree. If you still don't, then you go to arbitration. Someone comes in and makes the decision for you. All of that costs money too, so that's a factor. We haven't gone to mediation or arbitration ever with this union because we've always been able to resolve everything internally. So just a little more information on what it looks like during the bargaining process.
No, I would just go back and reiterate that what you brought forward was great work, and I appreciate all that. Maybe if you were to go back and say, boy, you just saw the fire coming off of the dais, all these people are really passionate about this one issue or these two issues. It might take a different, they may say, oh, well, gosh, we didn't realize that. Okay, let's talk about how can we work this out with the board and, come to an agreement or a side agreement or whatever. And it may be having that extra fire coming back or whatever. Maybe it's something helpful for negotiating that part. Now, you can debate everything's on the table again. I understand that. But, it still has to come back here,
Right.
I was going to say, I'm a pro-union, progressive Democrat. This is like family, bread and butter. This is organized labor, big proponent of. But it is collective bargaining. And on this issue, I'm on the other side of the table today. So I want to see collective bargaining. I don't want to see an entire township standing up as one firefighter union saying, this is a great deal, please take it. And I feel like they're getting a little bit of that tonight. I feel like we've got some different opinions on what we want to see out of this. This is the first time we've seen it, and we should be heard a little bit more clearly and not maybe pushed back on so hard here. This feels a little unusual.
Well, I guess maybe it is unusual because the board never had the opportunity to view the contract in advance in previous years and discuss it.
Now you know why.
So, no kidding. No kidding. So to think that the negotiations were just the township laying over to a firefighter
No, nobody
union?
said that.
You just said
No.
it, trustee. Yes,
did
you
not.
did. Yes, you
Nope,
most
I
certainly
did
did
not.
too. All right, I'm gonna call order on this. I'd like to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back, and we're gonna have to make a decision on what we're doing with this. Well, actually, 5 minutes. We'll come back at 8:45.
Only when you said it, I had no idea. I'm glad that happened.
I was like,
Gladiators.
all right, it's close enough. Matt, are you ready? Thumbs up. John? All right, we're going to call this meeting back to order. It's 8:45 PM. We will continue with item 13, which is discussion and consideration of Local 5240 of the International Association of Firefighters Collective Bargaining Agreement. I want to just pause before the HR director, because if there are any other issues that haven't been discussed yet, I want to clarify those so that we know what the obstacles are and the options to move forward. So the first identified is the perception that Oshtemo community events are not prioritized, and the board wishes to put into, I think the primary is to put into the collective bargaining unit that the union will participate in Oshtemo community-sponsored events. The second, and that perhaps could be addressed versus a memo of understanding without being in the contract directly. The second is the weekend work hours. Could possibly, I don't know if it was suggested that that could be addressed versus an MOU. It's certainly a memo the township could take to the union. However, the strength of getting that into the contract, I think, is uncertain. Beyond that, it's sending the contract back to the union, not approved by the board, and reopening the contract to renegotiate all of the articles. I believe then arbitration and mediation were presented as an option that the board could move forward with the contract. Where I believe we left off is how arbitration or mediation could address the concerns. Before you start, give me 1 second. Address the concerns of the board. Are there any other items of this contract, before we go into possible solutions, that you want to bring forward for consideration?
Yeah, I would like to eliminate the concept of working hours that are different on the weekends from the weekdays?
Yep, I
Was that
think I
included in
tried to
there? Okay.
address that. That is correct. So I think, I did try to address that. I think what is unclear at this time is if that could be
So-
accomplished with an MOU, which I think is unlikely.
That's fair, and I want to just to be super clear, I'm not saying go back in there and say, no, you guys can't have this weekend hours thing. It's, we have to recognize that if you're working those weekend shifts, the amount of labor that you are committing outside of your response to calls is less than the labor being committed by those working Monday through Friday. So we should not be offering full pay for that work. Does that make sense?
I
Do
totally
you
understand where you're coming
So if we're gonna
from.
do those shifts, then we gotta compensate and pull that lever so that we have the correct equity in the deal. That's what I'm concerned about.
That's where you're coming
Okay.
from, and I, absolutely. I think what options we have to get there, I want to hear from HR as far as what those options are, and that we all understand if we execute an option, that we understand what the consequences of that option can be. All right, so we have the prioritizing community events, we have weekends should be, working hours for Saturday and Sunday should be 8 to 5, just like Monday through Friday. Are there any other items in the contract right now so that we can ask HR to address those? Okay, Sarah, would you reiterate what our options, the board's options are with regard to addressing the two concerns that have been laid out?
So we can go back to the table, renegotiate. As DC mentioned, that opens up the entire contract. So everything comes back to the table. It's give and take, never know what's gonna happen. Could take us a while to come to a resolution. If we're not able to resolve internally, we go to mediation. A third party comes in, helps us, facilitates the conversation, tries to get us to reach an agreement. If that doesn't work, we go to arbitration. Someone else comes in and essentially makes the decision for you. So that's renegotiating. Now, the memo of understanding is also an option. There's no guarantee that we could get that passed. That's essentially a renegotiation as well. But as DC mentioned, we usually do that mid-contract. Not during negotiations. But it is on the table to do that. But if we approve this contract with the hope that we can then try to present an MOU to the union to clarify those, there is no guarantee that we would be able to pass that.
Okay, at this time, I think we've heard plenty of information. I think it would be appropriate, I believe, to have some input from each member of this board about the options that are presented, your desire moving forward, and I think we will start with, who would like to go first? Trustee Cole?
Yeah, I'd like to start. First of all, I absolutely understand Trustee Sikora and Trustee Ford's position, 100%. I wish it were as simple as I feel like the perception seems to be, and I am not comfortable with reopening all of the negotiations. This has been negotiated for 2 months, and this was already a heated topic at that time. So to think that we're gonna go back and then they're magically gonna say, okay, sure, no problem, that's not going to happen. Like Sarah said, it's gonna be a give and take. So where there's a give here, there's gonna be a take now. We don't know what that take's gonna be. And we run the risk of being down the road now having to pay for arbitration. And I think, I'm an optimist, so forgive me. I do believe this can be handled. I think it's safer to be handled through the memorandum of understanding. I know it's not a guarantee, but is it worth the risk of opening this back up and not only not getting what we want, but now we're in a worse position? I just am not, I would support passing this CBA as it is and attempting the memorandum of understanding, just from a risk level alone. And that's my opinion on it.
Thank you, Trustee Cole. Are there any other opinions of this board?
I have one. We, as the board, are at a disadvantage because we have not been in the negotiations. We don't know what was heeded, what was given, what was taken. So that puts me at a disadvantage. And that's always going to be the case because we have people who negotiate for us and represent us. I don't know if our wishes will, I don't know. There's a lot of unknown, and only the people who are in the room can know those things. The other question I have is this time sensitive that has to be determined now, or would it be something that the board, and I don't even know if it's even possible to go into a closed session to discuss something like this, because we don't know what was said, and we're revealing our hand and our passion, our feelings, but we don't know what you guys negotiate. And so the question I would ask is, maybe it would behoove us at a later point, maybe not at 9 o'clock at night to make a decision, but to put that decision off and to have, if possible, a closed session so that we could understand better what was discussed in those negotiations.
This contract is not effective until January 1st, so to answer your question, there is time to have the conversation. I'll let Jim.
And you could go into closed session to discuss with your negotiators.
Based on opinion of council? Right?
No, this is to negotiate a contract. You have the right under the Open Meetings Act to go into closed session. It doesn't have to have opinion of council. Yeah. Correct.
Okay, so Trustee Chapman's position is, you wanted to know,
My position is that we should not make a decision at this time, that at a later meeting, perhaps our next meeting, we should go into closed council and be able to discuss with you and the other negotiators freely without it being open to the public. Because I don't know what you fought for, what the give and takes were. And the only way we can do that without necessarily giving up our negotiation position is to do it in private.
okay. There's a hand raised. Oh, all right. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes, thank you. So, I've actually had it up for a while. So I was initially in favor of trustees Ford and Sikora, but now I am kind of leaning towards, doing the closed session, as it's been just suggested.
What are the implications if we table this for another meeting?
I don't foresee any implications as far as, the contract goes.
Okay.
We have time,
Okay.
which is why we wanted to get started early, so.
Any other feedback on what's been shared so far?
Well, if I'm understanding that you're suggesting going, Trustee Chapman, going into a close, that kind of defeats the purpose of having a closed session if you're talking about it in public, to learn what has been negotiated and share information or whatever? Is that the concept? Because that wouldn't address the things that I've made public and we've made public as being issues.
I don't know the degree of risk in the negotiation. So for me, I want to know before I make a decision what the risks are. And I can't understand the risk here because I don't know what was negotiated in our favor, what we won, what we conceded on. And so without that map, I don't know the risk of the decision we were about to make. I think that we have not, as a board, from what I understand, ever negotiated like this. We've never had this. So I think that honestly, we probably should have began this in closed session. That's just my personal feeling, but I don't, that's why.
Yeah, and I guess, I think that's a good option. I think I'd be willing to support that, because I wouldn't support this as it is now, with the hopes that we could have a memorandum of understanding or whatever in the future or something like that. I'd prefer to delay it, have the conversation in a closed session, and at which time we could share this or any other things that we think are what are important, and learn, well, we already discussed this, we didn't, whatever kind of thing. I like your proposal.
I agree with that, and that's consensus, if you're interested.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we
Table.
table this agreement until our next, should we do our next regular board meeting?
I would, then it would be at the earliest, the first meeting in September.
So September 9th. Okay, to table this until September 9th.
Are we able to have Sarah in with us?
Yes,
Is
you
that-
can take
Can
anyone.
can we put that in to have Sarah in to answer questions while we're discussing?
In your motion?
It doesn't have to be in the motion. You can,
No.
the board can take anybody into the closed session
Okay.
that they choose or they feel they need.
Can I also just clarify, is this no conversation should be had with the union about renegotiating until this closed session happens, correct? Okay.
Correct.
I have a motion, but I don't have a second.
Second.
A motion by Clerk Farmer, I have a second,
Chapman?
Trustee Chapman. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries
Claire?
7 to,
Claire? Declare vote?
yeah, she voted.
Oh, okay.
7-0, and the board will anticipate going into closed session on September 9th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, next, we have item 14, which is time for public comment. At this time, anyone wishing to address the board on any topic, this is your time to do so. Is there anyone here with us? Seeing no one in front of us, then we have any hands raised online. So seeing no hands raised online, I will close item 14, public comment. Next, we'll move to board member comments and committee updates. And I forgot where I started last time. I'll turn right to my right, Trustee Ford.
I have no further comments tonight, thank you.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes, Friends of the Parks update. We had our second Music in the Park event on Sunday, July 27th at Flesher Field. The music was provided by the Tomas Esparza Blues Band, and everyone had a good time. Our final concert is on Sunday, August the 24th, featuring Kitten and the Tonics. They mix up a retro cocktail of rock and roll with a splash of surf rock. It'll be a good time, and so come on out and enjoy that evening. And we're also thinking about, as I mentioned earlier, having our starting time next year being a half hour later to take into effect where the sun is and the trees, that kind of thing. Our third guided nature walk, led by volunteer Lori Walsh, is this Saturday. It's titled Footpath Through the Prairie, a guided nature walk at Drake Farmstead. We had a volunteer group there on Friday picking up trash, clearing the trails, with a second group installing bluebird houses. The prairie trails are nicely mowed and are ready for you to enjoy. So stop by either on Saturday or any other time to use when the park is open. And last Tuesday, I attended the National Night Out event at Flesher Field. It was nice to see a good turnout. And I happened to have talked to the sheriff a couple days later, and he said that we had way more people than Comstock did at their event. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sikora. Trustee Cole.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Trustee Chapman.
In the interest of time, nothing at this time.
Thank you. Treasurer Bushka?
Nothing tonight, Supervisor.
Thank you, Treasurer. I hope you feel better. Clerk Farmer.
Just one update, at our September 9th meeting, we will have Sean McBride, the Executive Director of Metro. He will be here and he will share some interesting facts and figures about Oshtemo and transit. Yep, I look forward to it, so you should too. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Let's see, just preparing as a reminder, August 19th, we have a budget meeting here at Township Hall. I believe that starts at 5:30. And that time is set aside specifically. We will have some draft revenue projections to share with you for our different funds. We will review our capital improvement plan as we make priorities going into budgeting. We will take a look at the year-to-date general ledger report to check in on our spending for the year. And then to kick us off, our HR director, before we do that, will present her recommendations around the Siegel study, which is the compensation study that we did regarding the employees, the public employees here at the township. And with that, my comments are closed and this meeting is adjourned.